We are live. We have.
Thank you for the token likes. Okay, are we still blocky? Let's get John in here so that we can talk together. John, we could pretend that if it works, then we'll pretend we'll erase our minds. So let's
Alright,
turn you
let's
on.
do it. Fresh start. Shake it off.
Woo! All right, we've tried something else, but is it still bad? Let me turn this.
They can hear me.
Oh no, I forgot to switch you off
Sucks for them.
in this cruel new world that we're
I can
in.
see my face now as well.
Good, good. I need to move you across a bit. Let's just keep the bants going for now.
It's alright. It's a nice intimate view that I'm seeing on the YouTube preview window.
It's very zoomed in, isn't it? Which I'm like,
It's a very stark introduction to your guest.
Yeah,
Let's start with a hyper close up on the face, and then we'll slowly pull out and reveal him as we go.
Yeah. It's like catchphrase.
Right.
There you go. Oh,
Just don't say what you see with this one. It's not going to be flattering.
Oh, well, okay. So how are people saying? Video's still laggy, but audio is good. Let's just do it, says Martina. What do we say, John?
I mean, if it's watchable, then let's just do it. If it's unwatchable and it's chugging all over the place, then you're the host. Don't put this pressure on me.
No, oh God, I don't.
You're running the show.
I don't want to sacrifice your time, and you're like, oh man, this sucks.
I have nothing else going on. All I wanted to do was talk about Elden Ring, and if I'm not going to talk about it with you, I will go play it. So
That's true.
I'm super easy, believe me.
Okay, well let's do the thing because a lot of people hopefully will be listening and playing some video games at the same time. So the picture is not going to change that much. I'm not sure if anyone cares for clip of the week. Honestly, it's not that bad, Martina. Okay, let's get this show on the road now. You put a lovely no, John. Let's just pretend. We're going to pretend that you've disappeared. We're going to start this again. If I'm going to bring you in, let's bring you in properly. All right, let's mute you first. All right, welcome back everybody to Locking It Down with Lucy. Thank you for hanging on in that brief interval and for all the tech issues. I will have to do something in the future. Obviously, I've not been rain dancing enough or whatever to make the internets work, but all is good in the world. We are now going to talk some video games with a very good conversationalist that I know in real life. He knows loads about video games, many more areas and touchstones than I have ever opened the crevice of video games world. I'm always impressed by his knowledge of games, especially in some of the, as I said, the areas that I'm unfamiliar with. He is a great variety streamer. You should check him out. It is PALFox. Let's bring him on. Please welcome to the show. There he is. You've not seen him before. This is the first reveal. Welcome, welcome,
hey,
welcome.
Hey, Lucy. Thank you for having us.
No worries. Thank you for bearing with me on this.
That's quite all right. Yes. I know we said we were going to pretend it was a flawless start, but I mean we both do the streaming thing. We're both content creators, and I don't know about you, but I'd say at least 1 in 10 of my streams collapses before it even starts, and it will be for the randomest shit. It will be because I've got like a USB drive plugged in somewhere where it shouldn't be. I've tripped over a cable somewhere. And you never notice these things until like 5 minutes before go live time.
No.
It's always the least amount of notice you could possibly get.
And then you've got people are waiting with bated breath.
Then you've got people waiting. You got people waiting for the good content.
They want to hear what you got to say. Now, John, you were the administrator of the poll today, which I'm now typing out again. Please tell us what your poll is, and I will surreptitiously type it as you say it.
So my poll, I was curious to get a bead on your audience, really, more than anything. The poll question was, what has been your favorite console generation? Now, there have been a lot of console generations, but there was only space for 4 answers. So I kind of had to like truncate the last one a little bit. But it was either 9th gen, which is where we are now, which is PS5, Series X, Switch is in there as well.
Oh, okay. Do I put that in there?
PS4, Xbox One, if there's space.
Okay.
And I guess Wii U as well, 7th generation, PS3, 360, Wii. And then my personal favourite, not that I'm trying to influence chat with their choices or anything, but 6th generation, which was of course PlayStation 2, the OG Xbox, and the Nintendo GameCube as well, or older.
Interesting. I'm just on the last one now, which is the 6th gen. Don't worry, everybody, you'll be able to vote soon. I think I'd go 7th gen as my personal favourite if I could vote.
7th was a mixed bag though. Like 7th was a big generation, and like I remember at the time it felt like it went on forever because that was 360, it was PS3. There was a lot of content, but it wasn't necessarily all good. I think it was just by virtue of sheer numbers of titles published across those platforms that we were able to pick out this collection of gems that we look back on and reminisce about. But then again, I know I do exactly the same with the 6th gen stuff.
Yeah.
Like PS2 was a huge gen because there was just fantastic third-party game support on PS2 as a console, and to a lesser extent Xbox and Cube. But there was a lot of stuff released in those few years.
Yeah, that's interesting because my top 10 favorite games of all time is mainly from PS3 games.
Walk us through them. So what?
I can't reveal this information,
I
John.
Save this till, I know we're already going off piece.
We are.
I am curious to know, and I wanted to contextualize things as well before we get kind of kicked off. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm sorry I ruined it.
No, it's fine. But like, we've worked together for what, like 5.5 years now, or so. And you know, PlayStation, we're in an office full of other gamers and people who know video games and shit. Not necessarily all of them. You don't have to, but it helps to work in the industry. And I rarely talk to anybody there who seems to like get it as much as you do.
Aww.
Especially when it comes to talking about things like trophies and, you know, trophy addiction and the respective journeys we've both been on with those. So like, I've been looking forward to this chat a lot as somebody else who seems to have the same mentality
same.
Around games and completionism as I do. So I'm fascinated to see how your favorite games of all time would compare to some of mine.
Oh, okay.
You know, we might be at total polar opposites in some areas, but kind of on the same wavelength with others.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to get into that because when I was drafting up a list of people I wanted on the show, I was like, oh yeah, I do know someone that also does the Twitch, the streaming stuff. And I was like, I'll have to ask John, especially with our recent connection of Elden Ring. It seemed like the perfect time to meet up. But before we get into the topics, let's just go through what is on the show today to whet people's appetites. So obviously we have PALFox, aka John. He's going to be with us today, and we're going to talk about Elden Ring, which he recently platinumed. So that'll be interesting to get his thoughts. He's also playing Mass Effect for the very first time, which has me like rolling all over the floor in excitement to talk to you about that. And then some other good bits like the Q&A from you guys in the chat and the strange relic vault. But John, how are you today? How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm tired. It's been a long week at work. We've been working very hard, unusually so. I think we've had a bunch of stuff come in. And all of my free time over this last week has been occupied with Elden Ring. It's kind of clashed at a slightly unfortunate time as well. My girlfriend is currently in the chat, Claire. Her parents have been down to visit us as well, so I've been kind of helping keep them entertained, and at the same time at the back of my mind thinking about where I'm going to go in my Elden Ring playthrough next.
Yes,
so
obviously.
It's busy. I'm exhausted. I'm looking. I don't know what I'm going to do with this weekend coming. Though, because I have platinumed Elden now, and I think I'm still going to dip back into it for a little while. And I suppose it's one of the things that's fascinated me about the game is that even though I have got the plat on it, I have nowhere near 100%ed it.
Oh, interesting.
You know. So anyway, TLDR, it's been a rough week, but I've got some downtime imminent, which I will be spending cleaning up on Elden, or maybe diving into the backlog, which I guess is something else that I'd like to talk about as well, because it's bad these days, Liz. It's real rough.
Oh, trust. Well, before we get into it, let us crack open a drink, as we do here on the show. I wouldn't want my guests to die of thirst.
Drink is cracked.
It is. Oh, I've got to do mine ASMR much. I've gone for a Dr. Pepper because it's like, I don't know, the poison of my life, but I love it.
I'm going to be vibrating this evening. I told Lucy this before we got started, but for the benefit of your audience, I recently kicked, quote unquote, my Red Bull addiction. It used to be a staple of the streams, but I thought in order to kind of keep up with you from a conversational point of view to match your energy levels this evening.
I'm shaking with stress. That's my levels. I'm like,
Nothing short of 400 milliliters of taurine was gonna help me achieve that.
Oh.
So I'm back on the Red Bull. Regulars will be pleased to know.
I'm glad I could help with that. Oh, and is it the sugar-free?
It is. It is fun, but also not really that fun fact about me. I'm also diabetic. So the full-fat sugar version is real lethal. It's extra effective, and it does make for some high-energy streams, but it's some high-risk, high-reward streaming.
Damn.
When I get on the sugar drip feed.
I like to go for sugar-free just to make myself feel a little bit better that I'm drinking Red Bull, you know?
Yeah, it feels like a nice compromise, right?
Yeah, it's like
you're still getting all the chemicals without all of the chemicals that there could be.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, I like that. Well, let us touch base with the check-in. This is the part of the show where we see the highlights and lowlights of everyone's week, make sure everyone's doing okay. Do you have any particular highlights or lowlights of the week you'd like to share?
Highlights for me personally, it was the Elden Ring plat.
Okay, nice. Congrats.
To be fair, like it was a nice easy one. It was last weekend when I actually grabbed it, and I think it was a highlight because there was this feeling of relief more than anything. Like I was gutted it was over, but I was also terrified of missing trophies.
Yes.
Like I've enjoyed the playthrough a lot. I don't necessarily want to hit an NG Plus run immediately. So the last like hour or so of that playthrough with a lot of save cloud data uploading and futzing around, it was nerve wracking.
Oh, I know. I always call the end game like setting my affairs in order. Like you get to that bit of the Souls game where you know the final boss is there, but you've got to put everything in order, write your wills out, make sure everything is set in stone before you...
Didn't want to miss anything, so as soon as the plat popped, there was this wave of relief that cascaded over me. So that was the highlight of the week. And I say yes, at the same time, a busy work week has meant that any more Elden playing or any chance of touching the backlog has kind of gone out the window. But that'll get resolved soon enough.
I also do invite you, the chat, to drop your highlights and lowlights in the week so we can touch base. So my low light happened literally, well, not just this stream not working. That was pretty low. I was like, no. But my other low light is happened an hour ago where I was waiting so much for this pizza, John. I love pizza. In my house, my old house, it was the original house I not quite was birthed in, but spent most of my living life in.
You were there a while, weren't you? Because you only recently moved, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Now I have to fend for myself. So
I know, it's a rough one.
First
steps out into the big wide world.
Yeah, so I wanted to honour Pizza Thursday and make sure I still have pizza on a Thursday, but I can't be asked to cook a big pizza, so I've got those little Chicago town pizzas, and I've got a cheeseburger flavour one.
Nice. Are they the microwavable ones?
Maybe, but you can put them in the oven to make yourself feel a bit better. So I had this cheeseburger flavour one, I put it in the oven, it's cooking, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll make some beans today, oh, how exciting.
Mixed up a little bit.
Exactly.
You know, I think I did the same thing when I first moved into the place I was in previously.
Yeah.
It's almost a rite of passage, cooking yourself a pizza the first time you kind of move out into your own place.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and I neglected to realize at the time though that I didn't have any cutlery. Like I'd packed all my shit and I'd moved out and I'd managed to buy some pizzas to sustain myself for 24 hours, but I didn't actually have anything to eat it off of. So I remember kind of sitting in the floor of my old place because I didn't have any furniture in yet either, eating pizza off the lid of the cardboard box.
Oh,
it came in, feeling like, yep, this is it, pal. You finally made it.
Well, at
Adulthood
least,
and self-sufficiency.
Yes, at least you got the pizza, because what makes this the low light for me is the pizza was cooked, it was ready, I was so excited. I opened up the oven, and then I have it on this little tin foil, and I picked up the tin foil, and I was like, how do you transfer it from the tin foil and the inside of the oven to the plate? And it dropped, and it went face down all over the oven.
That's the worst.
And I was
especially when you're hungry as well. Everything seems so much worse when you're hungry.
And I just stared at it for a bit. I was like, the cheeseburger pizza.
Staring at it as a solitary tear rolls down the cheek.
Yeah. So I picked it up, all the topping gone, all over the oven.
That's rough. I'm sorry to hear.
I know. So I scraped it up with the spatula and put it back on. And then I had to clean the oven, and it's all in the crevices that I can't get to.
That's a problem for later, Lucy.
Yeah.
Oh. We can deal with that when it comes. Much like this stream setup, we've managed to scrape it back together.
Oh, yeah, with a spatula.
And we've got some content out of it, so we're good. Focus on the positives.
There's still some bits of pizza stuck. Oh, warning. I'm getting a warning from YouTube. The stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended.
Oh, shit, YouTube.
Whoa! I wonder if I changed the setting in the stream latency. I can't remember what it's supposed to be. I've got it on ultra low, but I think it's meant to be on low or normal. I don't remember changing it though. Oh well.
I mean, we can experiment with stream maintenance live.
No, you can't. You're locked in once you go live.
Oh, you're stuck. Okay.
Yeah, that's, they got you. But it says good connection, which I hope is good enough.
We'll take YouTube's word for it. I'll try not to move around so much and keep the bitrate down. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, we both. Oh, I have to do that
Everyone
myself.
Stay super still. Right?
Yeah, but my highlight of the week was going to the Mary Poppins and the theatre. That was quite good. That was clip of the week, which probably got butchered. Maybe I'll play it again later. And watching Spider-Man 2. That was quite
Spider-Man
fun.
2, how was it?
I loved it.
Yeah?
It's very cheesy, but it plays into the.
I'm so out of touch with modern superhero movies.
Oh no, it's the Tobey Maguire one, John. Like I'm not.
Oh, the OG.
Yeah, I'm not watching Tom Holland.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
That was like the last Spider-Man movie I watched was Spider-Man 2 original.
Yeah, it was on
Wow,
Netflix.
what a throwback. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it great?
I remember watching that on my PSP.
Wow.
Because I don't know if you remember this, but when the PSP first came out, our lot did an offer where you could send them an email or I think write on the back of a postcard to Sony. And you filled in the serial number of your PSP, and so long as they validated your purchase, they would send you a free copy of Spider-Man 2 on UMD video.
No way.
And that was my first video UMD, and I was so excited to get it through the post.
Oh.
It came in this very efficiently packed, tiny white cardboard sleeve, little Sony logo on the sticker on the front of it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's cool!" Straight from PlayStation. And then fast forward, and I start working for them, and like, oh.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? How that happens.
Reality is often different.
Yeah, sometimes I have to remember. I'm like, oh yeah, I do work here.
I do work for PlayStation.
Yeah, you can forget. But isn't it a good film? I'd forgotten how good it really is. Like,
you're absolutely right. It's schlocky, it's cheesy, it's hammy, it's just self-aware enough.
Yeah.
As well. And I think, I don't know, if you're anything like me, I enjoy Spider-Man 2 for the same reason that I enjoy a lot of the games that I do, because they hit that same kind of tone. There's action and there's spectacle, but there is that certain amount of self-awareness, and I think that's really difficult. That's a really difficult balance to achieve. And there's some series that I'd love to talk about later as we go that I think do it very well.
I'd like to give a special shout out to the mid-movie freeze frame that happens. I was like, what is? I haven't watched it for like 15 years, John. So this was the first time watching it again. And I was like,
I remember.
I was like, this movie is too funny. Like, what is this? Much like the stream.
Get a lot of it these days. It's a sad day that they scrap that trope.
Oh god, yeah. They just look like they're having a good time in that film, and I'm all for it.
And that's what's important, and that's what rubs off on you as an audience member. That's a good pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I don't feel so bad about my ignorance when it comes to Marvel movies.
Yeah, it doesn't hit that same note as Spider-Man does. Like,
you know what? I enjoyed the few that I watched, but eventually they just became too frequent. Like I've got a similar approach to those movies as I do with a lot of games, which is to say that I refuse to engage with whatever the latest thing is until I've seen all the things that lead up to it.
Oh, that's
so in video game terms, like last year for me, that was the Yakuza games. I never touched any of them, but Yakuza 7 was around the corner, and I really liked the look of them. But I was like, I know this is a fresh starting point for the series. I know I don't need to play Yakuza 0 through 6 to get what's going on in 7. But it didn't feel right, so I've got to play all of them before I can feel good playing 7. And I'm the same with Marvel movies. Like, at this point, I can't watch whatever the latest one is until I now go through the backlog, of which there is, 20?
Wow, yeah.
There's tons of the fucking things. It's never going to happen.
They take themselves too seriously as well, which is why, again, I liked Spider-Man 2, because it was just having a laugh. Whereas, it's just there's too much happening. But that is quite the commitment that you do to go through all of them.
It's not the first time it's happened either, and at the risk of jumping the gun, it was kind of a similar thing for me with Mass Effect as well. As I suppose an early segue, but like I missed out on Mass Effect as a series when it first came out. I dipped a toe into Mass Effect 1. I think I remember picking it up cheap, pre-owned on the 360, and all of my friends were raving about it. And at the time, I'd also already kind of looked into the Dragon Age games. I'd really enjoyed Origins, but I'd not got around to Mass Effect, so I picked it up cheap and I tried it for a little bit and I did not get on with it. And I dropped it almost immediately within the first couple of hours. For whatever reason, I didn't gel with it. It didn't feel quite right. And I thought, you know what, fuck this. There's other stuff that I'd rather be playing. And then Mass Effect 2 came around and everyone raved about that. And they were like, oh yeah, all the problems with ME1, all the clunky bits, all the Mako missions, and that it's all fixed and it's all better now. It's like, man, I really should give it a go, but there's no way I'm playing Mass Effect 2 until I play Mass Effect 1. So I missed that as well. And then 3 came around and the same thing happened again. And it's like, well, there's no point playing 3 unless I've done 1 and 2, etc., etc., etc. So it was it was great when the Legendary Collection came around and everyone was excited about Mass Effect again, and it was all kind of polished and scaled up a little bit. It's like, okay, this is an opportunity to start from scratch again, and my brain goblins are happy, you know, knowing that I've got the full experience. I know that I'll have done everything in order. I'll carried my shepherd through from one game to the next, which is, you know, is what gives you that sense of ownership with the character.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it's not the most efficient way of doing things, whether it's movie series or whether it's games. But I unfortunately I have to start from whatever the first thing is before I can do whatever the last thing is.
I think it makes sense though. Like I am one of those people that have a habit of wanting to just jump into the one that everyone likes, like Mass Effect 2, or like I actually did play Mass Effect 2 before I played Mass Effect 1.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Did you find it jarring at all?
I guess at the time I was a little bit like, so it came out on PlayStation Plus, and that's the reason why I played it. So I played it in 2015 or something, so I was also late to it. And I remember everyone's like, oh, Lucy, you love this game, it's set in space, you like space. And I was like, all right, fine, play it, finally. So it came on Plus, and I was like, fine, I'll do it. And I do remember not taking it very seriously at the beginning. So, you know, because I didn't play the first one, there's like a little story that happens where you have to click what you did in the last game despite having not done
that's an option in the Legendary Collection. You don't have to do it. If you just import your character from one to the other, then I think that's an optional thing that you can go through.
So I did that, didn't really care what was going on. Thank God I didn't, spoiler alert, do something that could have affected Rex without meaning to.
So Rex was alive at the start of 2, was he?
Yes.
Nice.
I had no idea what I was doing. I remember being like, oh, what is all this lore? It's too much. I don't know any of this. And just clicking things like Ashley or Caden, oh, whoever. So, and then I decided as well that rather than making me, I'd make my dog Misty, because I was not taking this seriously at all.
Your dog, what is your shepherd?
Yes. So
it's like a German shepherd.
Oh yeah, no, she was Black Labrador.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna not be me. So my shepherd is called Misty Shepherd.
Misty Shepherd.
And I was like, what would Misty look like if she was a human? Well, of course, she's got green eyes, so Misty Shepherd has green eyes. My dog doesn't really have green eyes, but you know when you're like flashing a light and their eyes go really green when they're playful?
And then they go a bit demonic, yeah.
Yes.
When you look back at the photos and you're like, what the fuck is this? This is some kind of hellhound.
Yeah.
That I have. Yeah.
So for some reason I was like, I'm going to go with that for the eyes. And then I went for pitch black hair. And then the skin was hard. So I was like, well, I guess. And I went to look at her skin. I was like, oh, she does have, because she's a black dog, but she has like white skin. So I was like, well, it's very paler skin. So I went for this pale skin. Like I properly researched how I would make Misty a human.
Yeah, Misty Shepherd sounds like a nightmare. Misty Shepherd sounds like my sleep paralysis demon.
Actually, I think now she's become like, at first I was like, but now I can't imagine any other shepherd. So that's how I went forth and played the game, and I really enjoyed it. Then played 3, and then went back and played 1, and 1 might be my favourite almost.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
So
I don't know where I sit. So just for context and for everyone else as
Yes,
well, like
please.
I'm currently streaming the Legendary Collection, but I am only midway through ME2. Also, I've had a couple of main storyline encounters with the collectors. I just had a main story mission where we ended up aboard one of their ships for the first time, and it's all gooey and pods, and we found out about them and the Protheans.
Oh yes, the old Protheans.
But yes, anything like post the midway point of ME2/ME3, I've got no idea what's going on. And it's an interesting point to pick up on, and I'd be curious to know why you rank ME1 above ME2.
Oh, ME2 is my least favourite, which is very controversial.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard from most people it's 3.
Yes.
And this is kind of an outsider perspective, but that's largely because of how the endings were handled in the original release.
Yeah, I don't really care. It's not about the ending, John. It's about the journey.
It's about the journey. It's about the
Exactly.
friends we made along the way.
And so I would rank like Mass Effect 3 as my favourite, Mass Effect 1 like slightly after it, and then Mass Effect 2. I definitely agree that the other 2 games are much better than Mass Effect 1, but Mass Effect 1 just has this charm to it. It's got... It's the introduction, the music is so much better. I love the setup and all the story missions. The gameplay is probably the worst part in terms of the combat.
It's rough going, you know. Like I've had the pleasure of going straight from ME1 to ME2, and the difference in how those games feel is remarkable. You know, I struggled with the combat for a while with ME1. There's also, I remember spending a lot of time in my inventory.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, really?
I liked getting them all ready for school in the morning. That's how I felt. Like, okay, Ashley, where's your lunchbox? Or what gun have you got? Okay, off you go. Who's next? Oh, Gareth, what are you wearing today? Oh,
Pack Rex's snacks.
yeah, exactly. Oh, your clothes are a little out of date. We'll have to go to Littlewoods and get you some new armour. So, I don't know, something
Get
about
Gareth a
that.
new armor set that makes him look like a cat in a sock.
Yes.
You know, with like the tube thing going on.
I don't know
I
why.
wasn't a fan of the inventory micromanagement. Like, I got the hang of it by the end. And I think I finished my ME1 playthrough on sort of 999,999 credits.
Yeah.
Because I refused to sell anything. I just kind of sat there with pages and pages of stuff in my inventory until I hit the cap on that one.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed... So far, I've enjoyed ME1 more than 2 in some very specific areas.
Okay, please tell, because there's something about Mass Effect 1 that makes me want to roll on the floor in happiness.
Charm is a really good way of putting it, and I think from as many objective measures as you can pull, you know, from a gameplay point of view, from a fidelity point of view, from a game feel point of view, and a core loop point of view, ME2 is better. But I remember, so far I've enjoyed the interactions that I've had with the crew members during downtime on the Normandy a little more in ME1 than I have done so far in ME2. And maybe it's because for me it was something that was unexpected.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect there to be quite so much. This sounds like a really naive take, I guess, but I didn't expect there to be so much depth and lore in the Mass Effect universe.
It's really good.
Right? It's good, it's well written, it's interesting, and you know, I found myself when we streamed the bits of ME1 that I played through, you know, I mostly stayed focused on main story missions, and it meant that the streams were very action focused. Like, hit key story beats, there'd be a lot of shoot and get, you know, or whatever as we progress through to get to Saren, and then when I was offline in my downtime, then I'd do all the cleanup and I'd wander around the Normandy and chat to people. And I found myself chatting to the crew members on the Normandy for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just asking them everything about where they came from. Like, tell me about your culture. Tell me about your political hierarchy. Tell me about the way you fucking reproduce. Because it's all interesting stuff. With the exception of some of the humans. Because... Caden is as boring as watching paint dry.
Oh, bless him.
I hear he gets better, but I never got that far as to see his character evolution. I did the same with was it Ashley as well in ME1? Our resident space racist.
Yes.
I hear she gets a nice redemption arc where she kind of matures and becomes
And
a
a
bit more
facelift.
accepting. And a facelift.
Yeah.
They all get some work done in between
Oh
games.
no, she's like she literally looks like my cousin now in the third game. You'll see. It's
really?
Not that you've seen my cousin, but when you see her, you'll be like, Ashley? She's literally had her face ripped off and a lot of Botox.
In my playthrough, I'm never going to see Ashley again because it was a choice of her or Caden.
Oh, I see.
On the I forget the name of the planet it was.
Is it for Maya?
Yes, yeah, it was the Vermeer mission. That was a very obvious choice when it came around. It's like, okay, who do you want to basically push the button on the bomb? I was like, well, Caden's boring, but Ashley's boring and a space racist, and she shot Rex.
That happened to you?
It happened to us, and I walked the decision back. I was, because I wasn't quite savvy enough with the Renegade and Paragon options as they appeared on screen. And there was obviously the standoff between Rex and Ashley, and I was kind of trying to talk her out of it, but I totally missed that I had a big flashing red Renegade option there on screen, because I thought, looking at it, that it was just going to antagonize her more and kind of send things south, but actually that was the option that makes everybody calm the fuck down. It resolves the situation for you. So as far as my continuity is concerned, yes, Ashley in an alternative universe would have shot Rex, and that was enough for me to write her off as a crew member.
That is
like,
understandable.
I don't trust you. I don't like you. I've got my boy here, and that's like I've made my choice.
I saved Caden back on the PS3, but this time around I wanted to save Ashley to see. And I got to admit, like, despite racism aside.
Space racism aside.
Yeah, I want to redeem her, you know? I feel like let's not just kill her off. Let's see, like, she's got to live on this ship with the aliens. That's your punishment now, Ashley. You're going to live here with them.
She's gonna learn to like them.
Exactly, and then she'll understand. I'm not really sure if she does get redemption. I've not finished Mass Effect 3 myself yet with her, but I'd like to think that maybe her sort of prejudice is based on just, well, we know, because the aliens are cool, but maybe spending time with them and like being an order and building a team, she'll come out the other side at the end and realise.
It's true. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if this is going to get me cancelled on YouTube or not, but I found I was developing my own space racism. By the end of ME1, I was like, I don't know about these Solarians. I know they're a bit tricksy, and they're fast talkers, and they're a lot smoother than they look, kind of thing. I didn't trust them for shit. And then Mass Effect 2 rocks around, and I meet Morden. I'm like, oh my god, you guys are all right.
Yes, I'm more of a Volus. If I had to pick someone that I'm like, not sure about those guys.
Oh, the Volus?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do though?
I don't know.
They're all small and soft.
That's why I don't trust them.
I'm not worried about the Volus.
I'm not worried, but I've got my eye on them. Like, what are they doing? Obviously, the faves are the L Core. They are fantastic.
The L Core are great.
But I do have one trump card for Mass Effect 1 that I will play right now because I think this game does it better than no other game. The Citadel. Boom!
The Citadel.
I played Mass Effect 1 last. I went 2, 3, 1. I got to the Citadel and was like, I was wowed by it, despite the fact that the graphics weren't as great and the gameplay was a bit clunky. When I got there, I was just in awe at how amazing this was.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And it's not realised in the same way as in any of the other games. Like, I don't like the levels system. Mass Effect 2, the Citadel is awful. That's why, one of the reasons, boo to Mass Effect 2. Like, why am I in this freaking, I don't know, horrible warehouse-looking place? Where's the Citadel? Oh, it's only been destroyed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, still take me to some of it. I hated it. I love
They're very different environments. I really like the Citadel in ME2, but it's got a very different feel to it. Like in Mass Effect 1 Citadel, the areas that you explore, you know, with the exception of kind of the lower levels and that, it's supposed to resemble a utopia, right? It's clean. There's some greenery. It's all kind of big white buildings. And it's polished. ME2, it kind of skews towards this slightly grittier, almost like, you know, Blade Runner aesthetic, where everything's a lot darker. It's all kind of neon lit. The areas that you wind up in are all kind of mercantile areas, and it's shops and it's stores, and it's supposed to feel a little bit more cramped and kind of suffocating almost, which I think works for the game's theming and a lot of the side missions you end up doing on the Citadel. But aesthetically, yeah, one is brilliant and pure and white and gorgeous and futuristic, and the other one's kind of a bit gritty and grimy. But I like that, you know.
Yeah, it feels very very different. So who are you rolling in your squad then? Who are your go-tos?
My go-tos for ME1 were Garrison ranks. That was a no-brainer. I've got the dream team there. And I'm kind of flitting between a few at the moment with ME2. Garrus is still a staple.
Oh yeah, Garrus.
I've actually just he's so good.
Oh,
he's
love of my life.
Great character. Because I've just done his loyalty mission in ME2.
Oh yeah.
And if you recall it, you know, it's him taking revenge on some guy that betrayed him while he was kind of with the Blue Suns and that. And even from Shepard, you know, and for me playing a Renegade Shepard as well, like, you know, it's bad. Like, it starts to feel like Garrus is getting a little bit obsessed. Like, he's kind of acting out of character, and he's desperate for his revenge. But I've got such a good relationship with him at this point. I feel like he's got my back. I've got his. That all of the dialogue options that were thrown up on screen are like, are you sure about this? This is a bit out of character for you. I ignored them. I shut them down. Whatever he wants, he gets. I have his back 100%. Garrus is the kind of friend that if they murdered someone and they needed me to help them hide a body, I got you, fam. Let's do this. No questions asked.
That's very interesting. I heard you say, or did you kill the Rachni Queen?
Oh God.
You've done some bizarre things over there.
I'm not escaping this one. I feel like I need to kind of justify it perhaps a little bit. So I'm playing a pragmatist Shepard. Right? I'm playing a sort of renegade military man that doesn't fuck around.
Yes.
Who's not unnecessarily cruel, but his priority is the Alliance / humanity. You know, the Alliance in ME1. Now that we're working for Cerberus in ME2.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
His priority is keeping humanity alive. And when the choice with the Rachni came around, like IRL, like for me, obviously, you know, it's a big moral dilemma. Like, do you want to hit the genocide button or not? Role-playing pragmatist military shepherd, though, it's like, well, why take the risk? You know, the Rachni Queens are like, oh, don't worry, we're just gonna be over there on this rock, not hurting anybody. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Take your word for it? You know, you've already been controlled by other groups before.
That is
What's
true.
to say it's not going to happen again? And I did get spoiled by a friend on a couple of the events of Mass Effect 2.
Oh dear, was it the friend that I'm thinking of?
Probably.
Oh.
And I feel like even though it's a decision which I've received much ire for in eliminating the Rachni, I feel semi-vindicated for, but I also know it's not as clear-cut as, like, that was the right thing versus the wrong thing to do in ME2. So yeah, my shepherd's a bit of an asshole, but he gets the job done. You know, he's a real McBain type character.
Interesting. I just like try and just be, you know, military, because I picked a spacer background, and they're always. Did you do that too?
I went for whatever the background was, where he's got the traumatic past. The unit gets wiped out.
I can't remember what happens in my one, but everyone seems to know what happened except for me. I find the most thing of like, they say, oh yeah, that's what happened to you on insert planet name, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that happened. I was like, oh man, that was really bad, wasn't it? And I was like, But sometimes I get to talk to my mum, Hannah Shepherd, so that's quite nice. She dials me in at the what's it called, the place where you talk to the people. The room.
The conference room, yeah.
God, all my Mass Effect lore just going from my head. So are you enjoying Mass Effect 2 at the moment then?
I'm enjoying it immensely. Yeah, and I maybe this is naive in me, but I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I am doing. You know, like I'm looking forward to the next main story mission as much as I am the next opportunity to just dick around on the Normandy.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And chat to people and move some loyalty missions forward.
Do you miss the Mako?
Well. No, not even slightly.
Oh, I love the Mako.
I don't miss the Mako, but I also feel like the mechanic that replaced it in ME2 is almost as bad.
I think it's much worse because it's just boring.
It is boring, but there's something slightly therapeutic about it. Like when I'm doing cleanup, if I know that I'm just like mining for resources and stuff, I tend to throw a podcast on in the background.
Yeah.
And then like I can mute the sound on the game, and I just have to watch for the spectrometer and the rumbles to peak before I hit the button and I collect my resources. So at least I feel like I can switch off when I'm mining for resources in ME2.
Yeah.
Driving around with the Mako in ME1 takes a little bit more focus.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of those planets that you end up exploring to get your resources and pick up your dog tags or whatever the fuck it is that's there on the planet's surface, a lot of those areas weren't terribly well designed. You know, I don't know about you, but when I see a map marker with a thing that I need to go and pick up, like I beeline towards it, right? Like, there's a thing over there that I need to go and get. There's a resource cache to collect. And whatever's in the way, regardless of how steep the mountain might be, I will always try and Skyrim horse my way up the side of it. But in doing so, and I guess this means that it's maybe my fault more than anything, the amount of fucking times that I got the Mako stuck, like over and over and over again, halfway up a mountain where there was a crater or a crevice that was just steep enough for me not to be able to jump out of it, or just four-wheel drive up the side and out of it to kind of make some forward progress. Like, I had to pay attention with the Mako sections, otherwise I would get stuck and I'd get lost. And it took a lot longer to clear a map driving around on the Mako than it did to cherry pick a few resources with the scanning tool off a few planets in ME2.
That is true.
So I'm not a fan of either of those elements, to be honest, but TLDR, I found that Mass Effect 2's resource mining was just a little less tedious.
But I thought it was more ethically wrong. because
Ethically wrong.
well, yeah, we're like flying around the universe, just mining every planet. Hey, it's just Commander Shepard here. Oh, I'll take that element 0 off you. Thank you, thank you. Like, what are we? It's like literally the worst people in the world. Like, we could be going to any old planet, and they're like, oh, we really need this, whatever the other things are, and we're just like, boop, boop, boop,
Yep,
boop.
no, having that.
Yeah, off we go. We're draining.
Space colonizers, woo, let's go.
Exactly. We're the worst of humanity. No wonder people hate the humans. They're literally going around stealing everyone's resources.
I mean, that's fine for my Shepard, because he's a pragmatist and he's a renegade.
That's
How
true.
are you playing yours? Were you renegade?
I'm a paragon.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I imagine we've had some very different playthroughs then.
Oh yeah, well, I have renegaded once. So when I renegaded in the PS3 era, I decided to play as my cat Crash. So
Noticing a theme here with your Shepards.
yeah, this is the only time I've ever done this. Never done it again. But yeah, I just was like, how would Crash play?
Shepard is a great name,
Crash Shepard. Yeah, because my cat Crash is notorious. Well, he was R.I.P. Crash. He was much a renegade in real life. He gave no shits for anybody. He would like smack your ass on the way to the kitchen just for fun. He was like, "Oh, you Crash, chill out." But yeah, most of the time I try and do good for the world. I like being. I find Commander Shepard, the character, just so infinitely interesting because you're not even the boss. Like you have a boss that you report into, and he has a boss, but you're given so much responsibility. Like, what is Commander Shepard's Reich dashboard looking like? There's lots lots happening there. But
for all that he's a middle manager, effectively, like he's got a lot on.
But one of his tasks is, Captain Anderson, can you pick this up for me, Commander Shepard? Yeah, save the universe from the Reapers. Effort allocation for that. There's so much resources to do it. Off you go. Like, what?
5 working day turnaround on that one, please.
That's not with my SLA, thank you. But yeah, I just find that really interesting that you're not, even though you are the big hero, you're not the big, like, you're just...
You're definitely not in charge, for sure.
Yeah. But I would like to say that Mass Effect 1 had a lot of big ideas that maybe they couldn't quite fully realise, but I always found that, like, good on you for doing it. The planets in the Mako sections and the Mako itself may not be the greatest, but I always admired, the fact that they did this on the PS3, no less. Or
it was a really nice idea. It just, you're absolutely right. It wasn't executed technically as well as it could have done, but it's a product of its time. That's the big caveat that comes with all of this. I'm sitting here shitting on game mechanics and features from something that came out in 2007.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like they did a pretty good job for the time. It still managed to impress enough people. But looking back on it now in 2020, obviously it's not going to have aged.
Yeah. Have you got to the Hammerhead yet?
The Hammerhead. This is the flying Mako, right?
Exactly. This is much worse.
I think we might be dropping connection.
Oh no!
Sorry, I don't know if it's me or if I don't know if it's on your side.
Oh no!
How's things looking in chat?
I get you.
It might just be me this time around.
Oh no!
Sorry, the POX has found its way into my machine instead.
It's gone. I don't know what's happening, but I thought the Hammerhead was much worse.
Oh really?
Oh my god, that thing is annoying. It's like made out of paper.
But it can fly.
I don't care. All right. Can it 4-wheel drive over a mountain? No.
It doesn't need to. It can fly.
Not that great. It's like a hoverboard. People just shoot it.
There's little mist vents you can jump off of. I don't know. I mean, you're right. I'm not gonna die on this particular hill. It's not great either.
We're all dying in the Mako or the Hammerhead at some stage.
Yeah, right. But I did find it preferable to the Mako sections. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where the journey takes us.
Yes.
Like I'm now very invested in Shepard and in the team as well, and I think this is one of the reasons why the Legendary Collection feels like a really good way to be playing this. I know we're talking about them as individual entries in a series, but playing Mass Effect Legendary definitely feels like playing one big super game.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I'm playing 3 individual entries, because there is this very natural transition from carrying over the decisions that I made and the friends that I made, the relationships that I made from 1 into 2 and into 3 again. Like it feels like a complete story together, and one that I'm currently about 50% of the way through.
Oh, it's like binge watching your favorite TV show.
Absolutely, and I hope it sticks the landing.
I'm very, very interested to touch base with you when you finish Mass Effect 2 and when you get to Mass Effect 3 to hear your opinions on that, because I know
3 is divisive.
And I think unfairly so. I think people were just stuck on the ending, which I don't really care. Like that last however long it is does not detract for me. The adventure, the friends I met along the way, like
Sure.
there's my favorite part about Mass Effect 3 is that you know everybody now. Like you have like this band of friends that you're just like, hey, you guys again, and you're just like, oh, I need to finish it, but I've been just obviously playing so much other stuff. But that's what I love most about it is just your friends, you're hanging out, and you're on this epic adventure, and they are great, which is why it's one of my top 5. No, yeah, I don't think it's in top 5, but it's one of my top 10 favorite games of all time.
Top 10 of all time, holy shit. That was where we started before we got derailed.
Yes,
what
it
else,
is.
What else is in the top? What's in the top 5 for you?
Oh,
all time.
Okay, well, I can tell you because I'm going to make a video on this eventually, but I think I might have to change the list, to be honest, because recent events, recent games have changed. But for me, number 1 is always Uncharted 2. That's unfallible, cannot be dethroned. But I also like to put in parentheses Uncharted series. Okay.
Okay.
It's my bae. Number 2 is Skyrim. I think still. Yes.
Really interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because that I very, very much enjoyed. Now here's where things get a little like those two are solid. This is the area now of grey where I'm like.
The list gets fluid. It depends what mood you're in as to which gets slotted where, right?
Yeah, and for a very long time I had like Witcher 3, Fallout 3, Last of Us and stuff like that in these positions. But now I'm thinking that it's hard because I don't want to fill the list with just PS3, but because it means so much to me, this era. But I think Dark Souls is definitely up there.
Ooh, DS1.
Yeah, oh my god, it makes me so happy. Like Mass Effect makes me happy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red Dead Redemption, Last of Us. So I think I need to sort of figure out where
Solid
these
pick,
are all.
for sure.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine is all a generation older, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
I know it's largely nostalgia driven, you know, or that's at least the excuse that I come out with when I give people this list to try and, you know, deflect any real ire. But most of my all-time favorite games all came out within just a kind of few years of each other, and again, like you, I guess I'd struggle to pick, you know, whatever it is that goes in the number 1 spot at any one time. But generally speaking, Metal Gear Solid 3 is always up there towards the top, you know, and it for a myriad of reasons that I'd love to do a whole other podcast session on.
Because I don't know anything about Metal. I've never played one other than Ground Zeroes. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. You're in for a treat. If
Am
you
I
want to
though?
dive into it, I'm happy to talk you through the chronology, recommend a playlist order. It is, in my opinion, one of the best game series of all time, and it is peak Kojima.
Yes, because this is what I wanted to say earlier was that you play all these games that I'd never played, and I knew Metal Gear Solid is a big, massive, gaping hole in my knowledge.
It's a great franchise, and it's one that I think, sadly, is kind of seen its best days already at this point. Which on the other hand means that if you're going to dive into it, then you know what you're in for.
Yes.
Like they're not going to be churning out any new ones anytime soon. I don't think Konami are ever going to swallow their pride and carry on making games under that name anymore, unless it's a pachinko machine.
Yeah.
And if they do, then obviously they're going to be doing it without Kojima, which was the driving force. And when they did make an attempt at doing a Metal Gear game that didn't involve Kojima, they shit out Metal Gear Survive. And the less said about that, the better.
I'd forgotten about it.
Most of us have tried to. But the mainline games are solid, and it actually reminds me a lot of just earlier when you were talking about Spider-Man 2. Maybe it's an unflattering comparison, but there is an element of that tone that I love so much that Metal Gear Solid 3 specifically hits very well. It's that nice balance between ultra serious melodrama, like military melodrama, with a really kind of, I don't know, somber, humbling message behind it, with all of its kind of it's anti-war and it's anti-nuke messaging, but it's kind of layered in with this schlocky, hammy sci-fi element that is more prevalent in MGS3 than in any other entry in the series. You know, MGS3 was Kojima's attempt to kind of do something that played with the film genre a little bit more, that started incorporating elements of of Bond movies. So it's bombastic and it's spectacular, and it's genuinely funny as well. There's little moments of humor in there, and Big Boss is one of my all-time favorite video game protagonists. I think he's incredibly human, and he's incredibly sympathetic, and MGS3 is the start of his journey. But I think what I like about it as a series, and Boss as a character as well, is that unlike just about any other game series with any huge number of entries in it that I've ever played, Big Bosses or Naked Snakes, whatever name for whatever game you're going to pick for him, his arc, his character development from the very start of Metal Gear Solid 3, right until the end of the timeline, is a super cool one. You get to see a hero become a villain in a way that you don't often get to, and even by, I'm using the term villain very loosely, even by the standards of other similar pieces of media.
Like Batman says, if you are the hero long enough to become the villain or something.
Exactly. But because you've got to see his character development, because you've been on him with that journey through however many game entries, even by the time he attains his status as technically a villain, you do sympathize with him because you know where it comes from. And sympathetic villains are always the best ones, because you don't see them as clear cut as good versus evil. You start to see them as morally grey and complex. And I do think Big Boss, by the end of his lifespan in Metal Gear, is a very morally grey character, and you get to see everything that's led up to that point. You feel like you know him very well.
Okay.
And that's just to speak of the story. And Boss as a character, he's one character in a huge cast full of very, very memorable supporting roles across a number of games that do vary in quality from one to the other, but generally speaking are great, and they still hold up. It wasn't that long ago that I kind of streamed MGS2 and 3 again, and mechanically they're still sound. They're still incredibly fun to play. And they're a great challenge. And once you start running them multiple times, you start to kind of appreciate the almost arcadey feel they have to them with your scoring system, and the way you try and attain higher ranks on individual playthroughs. It's a very engaging series.
I will say, now that you're talking about it, I remembered I had one of those demo discs for PS1, and it had the Metal Gear Solid, the first game, but the first level. I remember playing that a few times, but clearly it never clicked enough with me to want to buy the game, but I would just play the demo repeatedly.
You know what? Like, I bounced off Metal Gear Solid 1 myself the first time it came around as well, because I think it was 1997 it came out. So I would have been 6.
Yeah, so you're younger than me.
At the time.
Actually, you must be the same, because I would have been 6 as well, actually. I'm just like, how old am I?
I refuse to believe that. I'm sitting here with my lockdown beard, feeling about 50 years old at this point. But I bounced off Metal Gear hard when I first tried it. I think I played it at a friend of mine's house who was a little bit older than me. And he was showing it off on his PS1, and I remember him running around Shadow Moses Island, trying to show off, like, oh, when you walk in the snow, you leave footprints and the guards follow you. Isn't that cool? And I'm like, oh man, it's grey, and it's all kind of grim and shooty, and I don't really get what's going on. And I went back to playing Banjo-Kazooie on my Nintendo 64. But years later, when Metal Gear 2, MGS2 was on its way out, and I was a little bit older, I gave 1 the second shot, and I was like, oh fuck, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get what he was talking about. This is incredible. And I fell in love with it from then on.
So how do you play those games now? Because I know that on your channel, if we want to transition into your streaming, what you stream.
Nice.
No worries.
Good segue. I know the plan has gone completely out the window. I love it.
But yeah, I'm guessing it's an old game. It was a PS1 game. So how would me, a wide-eyed 31-year-old, play Metal Gear Solid today?
If you wanted to play MGS1 specifically, you can play it on PC. I believe it's available on GOG at the moment. Someone in chat might be able to correct me if it's not.
Do I have to play with my drivers and my WSD?
Maybe. It's going to take some fucking with, unfortunately. That's an option. Otherwise, if you still got a Vita or a PSP,
I do have a Vita
port of Metal Gear Solid 1.
John, you're going to love something that I have, but I don't have it with me. I have to send you a picture. It's in my loft. Okay, this is a very random segue, but I think you would enjoy whatever it is. I participated in a Secret Santa for Kind of Funny, the podcast. Yeah, YouTube podcast.
Yep.
And the box I received was quite a big box when it was, my person sent me. And I looked at the address that it came from. And this is where you just get picked randomly from anybody in the community. And the address was the office that they worked in. I was like, oh my God. My Secret Santa was Greg Miller, and he had sent.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he sent me a box of just shit, and I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it. Cool. And one of the things he sent me was a PSP, which was an edition of his favorite Metal Gear Solid game. Is it Peace Walker or Peace? Yeah.
You have the Peace Walker PSP?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude, that's fucking cool.
I tried to turn it on, but it's got a US plug adapter, so I could never try it. But he was like, "This is my favorite game of all time. I want you to have it." And I was.
If you're interested, send it to me. I'll charge it. I still have my PSP. I have my PSP charger. We'll get it running for you. That's a super cool collectible. I always wanted that Peace Walker Edition PSP, but I already had a PSP and I couldn't afford it because I was a kid.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because I haven't looked at it in a while because I was like, oh, I can't use this thing, but I always wanted to keep it.
That should go in the vault for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to get that and put that in the background. I was like, you big Metal Gear Solid fan? I'm like, no, someone sent it to me. I'm like the worst person.
It's in the pile. There's like discs in there signed by Kojima and shit.
Yeah. So I'd have to just play it on. Guess I could play Vita. I do have my Vita still.
So the other easier option, and this is where I suppose I kind of have to tread carefully a little bit, is I can see you getting worried already. I have to get my channel taken down. Emulating it is an option.
Oh yes, I don't know much about this.
It's very easy these days, and it's the kind of thing that there's tons of guides for, and that unfortunately a lot of people tend to kind of tense up when you start talking about emulation, because there is a natural crossover between emulation and piracy.
Yes.
And the exact laws around, piracy is universally illegal. But emulation itself is not, depending on what part of the world that you're in. But there's also a lot of legally grey precedents, around what you're allowed to do. But I know as far as UK law is concerned, if you've already got the original disc, like you are well within your rights to make copies of it digitally for personal use and backups, which would include running it through an emulator, so long as the emulator is using all of its own uniquely written code and not something that's been pulled from elsewhere.
Well, true. Ultimate God is actually saying a fair point that PS3 is backwards compatible with PS1 games. So if I had the PS1 disc, which I'm sure, I don't know how easy that is to find, I could just play it that way.
Doesn't it depend on which PS3 that you've got? That you need one of the original 40 gig, 60 gig FATs?
I think that's only for PS2.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So I sometimes bust out the old PS3 to play Crash Bash on my ill-fated quest to get 200% completion, which I've been doing for most of my adult life at this point. It's never going to happen. If that
works, that's a really good way of doing it. If you want an opinion, which I know is going to be controversial, then you could also play Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes.
What's that?
Which I love. Metal Gear Solid: Twin Snakes is a GameCube game, which you would also have to emulate. But is very easy to do so and looks great scaled up. It is a ground up remake by the team at Silicon Knights. For the GameCube. It was a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1. Now, it's a very different feel. It uses largely the Metal Gear Solid 2 game engine, which mechanically has got a bit more going on, and it trivializes a lot of the more difficult encounters, yada, yada, yada. It also, for whatever reason, goes hard on the anime bullshit cutscenes. As MGS1 was already kind of playing fast and loose with the stuff that it did that was weird and right on the border of military sci-fi tech. And then for whatever reason, when the Silicon Knights team got a hold of it for this GameCube remake, they decided to dial up Snake's abilities in-game to be something more like that of Spider-Man. For fight scenes that used to start with two people cocking a gun at each other and now involve Snake backflipping onto the butt of a gun, and then kicks it up in the air and does a 360 spin and grabs it and no-scopes someone else on the other side of a snowfield, or occasionally doing flips off of rockets that are being fired at him by Hindy attack helicopters.
That sounds very Leon Kennedy.
It's a little bit Leon Kennedy.
Yeah.
It does hit that tone. Which brings me to another one on my top 5 games list of all time,
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4.
Which I played for the first time last year.
I know, I saw.
I know, it was very exciting.
It's kind of it's got that status as this like holy grail of video games for the time. It must be weird going into a game that's that old and that has so much reverence around it and having to kind of judge it for the first time, right?
Yeah, especially because I really enjoyed Resident Evil 1 Remake. I liked, because I went back and played that, and I enjoyed the whole exploring the mansion, and I got really into that. And then this is like a total change, like shift in gameplay and everything. So at first I did not like it. I'm in that first stream like grimacing, like I think I was having a good time, but not for a Resident Evil game. Like I was having a good time playing a different game, which just had a Resident Evil name and the same characters. But then as time went on, I got more into it and I did really enjoy it. I still prefer those original Resident Evil games to this, but I still enjoyed like how it changed things up and even...
Four represents a bit of a tipping point, you know, it was where they first started to kind of shift the camera's perspective and start leaning into the action side of the genre as opposed to pure survival horror that obviously the first kind of 3 were, right? Yeah,
and playing it like retrospectively, I was like, oh my god, I can see how so many games that I've played were inspired by this. Like that was so interesting. Like there was, especially Naughty Dog. I could see these sections like from Naughty Dog games being pulled straight out of this game, and I was like, I also enjoyed perfecting my "Help me, Leon, help me." That she would.
That's a good Ashley.
Oh, that was, and I got the 100% because there was no platinum, sadly. But
yeah, I was also gutted about that. I've done the 100% run a few times actually. I think I even put a couple of guides online about unlocking costumes.
Where were they when I tried to look for them?
True achievements, because I was 360 when the first HD port of Resident Evil came out. I put a couple of trophy guides up for that one because I was straight on it, like day one. Yeah. It's like I already know how to do this.
Oh, that's really interesting. Maybe I did stumble across yours and I didn't know it was you.
Maybe.
What do they call it when someone writes a book but it's not really them? Well, it is them.
Like a ghostwriter.
Yeah, I think, but you were real. No, what's it called, like when you make a fake pen name? A
pseudonym.
Yeah. maybe that
I mean, it was all pseudonyms because it all went under my gamer tag.
That's true, yeah. You were someone else entirely. But let's go to the streaming side of things, because you've streamed that game as well, I assume. I think I've popped in a couple of times and seen you.
I've done it a few times, over the sort of 3 going on 3 years that I've been streaming at this point.
Are you like pro at it? Are you able to like get through it really quickly?
You know what? I started to kind of mix things up with challenge runs. Like I enjoy watching speedrunners and that kind of thing, but I don't feel like I've got the kind of technical ability for it or the patience necessarily. But I do with Resi 4 specifically, because I mean I've lost count of the number of run-throughs that I've done of that thing over the years on just about every platform that it's been published on, which is all of them.
But have you done it on Oculus?
I don't have an Oculus. Oh. That's a controversial one.
Oh.
I know. I'd love to try it at some point, but it's a very different feeling game because you can do an awful lot of weird shit that you weren't supposed to, like dual wielding weapons. You know, you've got a lot more maneuverability as opposed to dealing with Leon's tank controls, and they cut certain sections of dialogue, etc., etc.
Oh yeah, there is some weird dialogue in that game.
There is some weird dialogue. Again, very schlocky, very hammy, very cheesy.
Yeah, I can't remember which one in particular. Adore it. I remember there's a couple of lines that he says to Ashley, who I believe is how old is she meant to be, like 18 or 19, but comes off as a 12-year-old or 14-year-old?
I think she's supposed to be like 18 or 19.
Yeah, because she like propositions at the end of the game to him. And I'm like,
she's like, I want to go back to my place and do some overtime.
I was like, whoa.
Leon's like, fuck no.
It's like, excuse me. that was
you can't
very
even
odd.
Escape though. They're on the back of the fucking Sea-Doo.
Like, I know. That's the most awkward rejection ever.
Such an awkward ride back, man.
Like, dropping you back to your dad, who's the president.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you come in? No.
I'm good, sir. Thank you.
It's all right. Awkward.
You know. But yeah, I've streamed Resi 4 plenty of times, and I started to do kind of challenge runs with it, which was like, okay, can I go through with just the default pistol? Can I go through without upgrading anything? Can I do a no merchant run through that sort of thing?
Oh, wow.
And those runs were fun. They're kind of happy thinking about some set pieces, and folks in chat who, I mean, you probably remember the water room as well
wow, yes.
in the castle. Like pinch points and bottlenecks in the game, that if you're coming into them with just literally the starting pistol, or you're trying to get through it with a knife, sort of thing, then you've got to totally rethink all of the old strategies that you developed to get through those zones and that kind of thing.
I'm getting all the sound effects flooding back. I used to think they were saying noddy SVG, noddy S. I was like, why do they want this noddy SVG file? Like, someone send it to the goddamn man, and whatever else they said. So what was one of the first games that got you into streaming?
The first game that I ever streamed was Tenchu, third one, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if you played it. Again, it's another IMO. It's a PS2 era classic. And Tenchu, which I guess might segue us later on as well, was an old FromSoft developed series as well.
Okay.
And you can absolutely feel the genetics of Souls games in early Tenchu games, in how those characters move, how they feel, how the lock-on works, and that kind of thing. But actually, I started streaming purely, I suppose, for a couple of reasons. I shifted out of an old role at work into the one that I am in currently as well, and I was enjoying the work that I was doing, but I was feeling a little bit disconnected from gamers, and I don't know if you feel the same way as a designer, but it's weird that for all that professionally we do create comms or bits of collateral that are designed to appeal to players, we're so many steps removed from them. It doesn't feel like there's much of a personal connection there, and that was something that I wanted to do more of. And
it's interesting that, because sometimes I'm making stuff and I forget about it as a fan. I'm doing it as a professional, as you said, so you kind of forget what you're the meaning that this has to somebody else that wouldn't be in that position. It's very odd, isn't it?
Absolutely, and as a writer as well, specifically, I write the marketing copy for the games to sell them to people and to tell them why they're good and why they're worth your attention. But when I write for PlayStation, and obviously my tone has to change, and I can't go, fuck yeah, this is really cool, you should check this out. It's got to be a little more measured than that. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get excited about games directly to people, as opposed to through this kind of more professional filter. And that coincided with a time as well where I'd actually just started getting into emulation.
Okay.
I wasn't doing much with my PC at the time. It wasn't quite new enough to be playing new games, but it was still a decent enough rig to kind of get some of my old PS2 favorites, looking good and running things like Burnout and Tenchu and Metal Gear at 4K, 60 FPS with the help of some mods and some workarounds and stuff. And it kind of struck me that, well, if I'm going to be investing all of this time into getting old games that I am excited about, that I do want to talk to people about directly, up and running on my system, I might as well turn on a camera. And if people want to pop in and ask, oh, cool, it's that thing, I remember that, or even, what the fuck is this? Is this a PS2 game that I missed? Then there's an opportunity for an interaction there. So it started out purely as that middle of the Venn diagram between, I want to mark out excitedly about video games, and I'm learning how to emulate old games that I'm already excited about. And it was a very natural transition to just go, fuck it, flick the camera on. If people want to come and watch, then we'll talk about old video games.
So what do you enjoy most about it? Now that you're deep into it, you've been doing it for what, 2 or 3 years?
3 years now, I think.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, the time has flown by in lockdown. And I'm sure Blair is already correcting me in chat that it's actually been about 5 years or so, but I think 3 is right.
It's been 84 years.
84 years. I watched that for the first time a few weeks ago. I've never seen Titanic. Martina showed it to me.
Well, what was your takeaway?
I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I watched it now that I'm a 30-year-old man than when it first came out when I was like a 6-year-old kid. Because if I'd have watched it when it first came out, I'd have been bored out my fucking mind.
Oh yeah, you only start watching it as a kid by the time you see the sex scene. When the hand goes on the cab, now things will start to. Because I remember watching it as a kid and being like, oh, being so
super
bored.
boring, all lovey-dovey. Why are these grown-ups touching each other? I don't understand. When is the boat going to crash?
Yeah. And then I was horrified, because then the bit that used to scare me the most was watching those 2 old people just go to bed. And I was like,
tragic.
oh, no. As a kid, that was petrifying.
As an adult watching that for the first time a few weeks ago, I was holding it together very well at the end. You know, I could feel the ball in the chest. Like if something happens, then the waterworks are going to start and I'm going to go. And I saw the old couple on the bed and I couldn't. That was when the floodgates broke.
Oh,
it's like, this is the worst. That was so fucking tragic.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have got it when I was a kid. But
No.
when you're a child, you're a sociopath. You've got no appreciation for the value of life.
Yeah, I was just more thinking about how they were going to drown, and I was just like, this is really scary.
It's such a rough way to go as well.
Oh, I don't like to
no
think about it.
no sedative, no nothing. It's just
icy cold water.
Lungfuls of water, man.
I don't think that was the right decision. To be fair, I don't think you'd be able to sleep either. I think I'd have trouble drifting off.
You've had a rough time getting off.
Yeah. I do like to think as well that when I go to Charing Cross for the last train, like sometimes I'm there, I imagine the Titanic violinist playing as everyone's trying to get the last train. I'm like, no.
It's been a pleasure playing with you, gentlemen. Everyone piles on.
Goodbye.
But yes, so I started off purely kind of retro games focused and doing the emulation thing, but I found that I actually very quickly burnt through my library of classics that I wanted to share with people and that I wanted to show people. So I started working in the odd, current gen stream here and there with here's what I'm playing, or I got myself my first capture card and I started doing, all right, here's something from last gen that I really enjoyed that I'd like to show people. And from there on, I suppose the stream evolved or devolved, depending on your perspective, into just kind of all-purpose variety streaming. But the thing that I'm actually enjoying the most about it these days, which is very different to what I enjoyed the most about it when I started doing it, is having some guidance and some input from a small but very, very loyal community, and I dare say like a great bunch of friends that I've made since I started doing this, who now, they know my tastes, they know the kind of things that I like, they spent long enough watching me to know the kind of shit that's going to get me riled up, and they're able to direct me towards games and series, or in the case of something like Mass Effect, even individual moments that I might have missed or might otherwise miss. And these days when I'm streaming, it kind of feels like I've got a couch full of people next to me that all know what I'm going to like and what I'm not going to like, and they're kind of helping me pick the content. It's no longer a case of me choosing the thing that I think they're going to like. The roles almost reverse these days. Like they have a very heavy influence over what I play. And they're right 95% of the time.
Yeah, that is very cool.
It's a really nice place to be. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. I had a similar thing when I was playing Resident Evil 4, that people like cheering me on or trying to tell me how to play the game, and I was like, what? For the first time.
It's great when you know what's coming and stuff. And it's why, a few moments ago when you told me that you'd never played a Metal Gear game before, I didn't want to like blurt it out, but my first instinct was, fuck, it would be really cool if Lucy did a playthrough of that. I can sit there and I can give her pointers in certain directions.
You could be my person that I blib snake to. That I know that happens.
Yes, I can be on the codec.
That's the one.
I can be your Rose, calling you insufferably and asking you what date it is today.
Great.
That's a reference that you will come to loathe in due time.
I look forward to it because I feel like I should do something about
this. It's well worth the time investment.
Yeah. Is there any things about streaming that you kind of like feel, because we were talking before the stream, like I think people don't realise that it is a lot of your energy that it takes, but like as much as you enjoy it, it can be. For
sure, it is taxing, and I'd be interested to get your take on this as well. Because for all that I started off this podcast, I guess, talking about our similarities in games and our tastes. I think personality-wise, we're very different. You've got this energy to you. And you're absolutely like an extrovert personality type. You seem to kind of, you're always buzzing around the office and chatting to people, and people seem to kind of gravitate towards you. And as a result, this is purely my take on it, but I think it's why you do so well as a content creator.
Despite all of this nonsense,
you got this magnetic personality and this ability to just kind of talk and chat. I struggle with that a little bit, because by nature I'm an introvert, and streaming is a very social experience, and it does exhaust me. It is quite tiring. Now, fortunately, the benefits of it outweigh the negatives. You know, if I feel like I've had a good stream, it doesn't matter how tired I am. You know, it's still worth it. It's still great because I was able to talk about this, or this new person popped in, or I did this thing in this game. But I start to find myself running on fumes. You know, after a couple of hours or so of just heavy, continuous talking and interaction. I don't know if you feel the same. Like, it seems like your streams generally tend to run longer than mine. I think mine are time limited by my own ability to stay conversational.
Yeah. It's weird though, because like the actual act of streaming is you're sitting playing the game. Is it just the talking that makes it draining, I wonder? Because I do feel like tired afterwards, but I don't know, like I don't feel like I'm doing anything different. Maybe it's because...
from my perspective, it's because your brain power is split.
Okay.
Right. I try to interact with chat, contrary to what I'm doing on this stream, you know, and largely ignoring everyone until we get to the Q&A section. Sorry, everybody.
Hopefully you're just enjoying the conversation.
You know, but when I'm doing my own streams, I do try to answer as many questions in chat as I can do. I try to address every comment. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that I'm a relatively small streamer. There's not an overwhelming amount of stuff there. But I feel like 50% of my focus is permanently on that screen, and only 50% is on the game.
And don't forget the obviously 25% of continuous anxiousness for the tech issues. That's always,
of course,
always there.
Yeah, keeping a side eye on OBS, making sure that the red block of doom doesn't pop in.
Yeah,
for sure. I think your brain power is absolutely split. You know, at least 2, maybe kind of 3 ways. Also, when you're streaming, it's harder than it looks, and I feel very self-conscious saying that as somebody who does it now.
Yeah.
But I definitely used to be one of those people before I became a content creator myself, you know, who did watch a lot of Let's Plays and streams too. I didn't get what was hard about it. I didn't really appreciate the fact that it was mentally quite taxing, trying to talk and be funny and be entertaining at the same time as doing the Bimeo gen good.
Yeah.
Right. And then depending on the gaming question, like that in and of itself can be very taxing.
Yeah.
You know, so for the longest time, I only streamed games that I'd already played through before.
Okay. Yeah, I find that's also, there's an extra layer to not playing a game. It's weird.
For sure. You know, when it was something like MGS2, MGS3, Resident Evil 4, anything that's on the classics list, anything that's on the top 5 list that I've played a billion times before, you know, I can play those games competently to a degree that I'm happy with without really thinking about it. Like, I'm on autopilot for so much of that playthrough, and it meant that I can give chat my full attention.
Yes, that's Uncharted for me. Like, I can just play that and have a good time.
Exactly the same thing.
But there's an extra level of stress when I did the Resident Evil 4, because there's people that are berating you in the chat, but there's also people, like, you know, helping you on, cheering you on, and you're like, am I spending too long on this puzzle? Is this really boring to watch? But I also don't want to compromise my own playthrough by not engaging in the story, but also being like...
That was extra embarrassing for me with Resident Evil 4. I don't know how you found the sliding block puzzle while you're playing as Ashley.
Which one was that again?
So you play as Ashley for a little while, and you're wandering around an area with a flashlight, and there's knights that attack you, and you've got like a 3x3 or a 4 grid. I hate that puzzle. I hate it so much because I never learned how to do it properly. I never learned the speed running, like move this there, this there, this there. You can do it in like 4 moves or something ridiculous. And I knew full well as soon as we hit that puzzle on the stream, and I forewarned chat when we arrived at it, that y'all are just going to have to bear with me while I bash my head against this puzzle. I know there's proper ways of doing it. I don't know what that way is doing. I've never learned. I'm not going to learn now. I'm just going to brute force these tiles until they fit into place.
I did the same thing with Adam Venture, which is a game that's an Uncharted ripoff. I don't know if you... Do you know of it?
Is that a real video game?
Adam
Venture?
Adam Venture.
I'll look for this.
So I did a full stream of this on my channel for the first time because it's like an Uncharted knockoff, and his companion, is called Evelyn.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And the game is full of maths, which I was not prepared for.
It's also my kryptonite, yeah.
Exactly. So there were puzzles that I was doing for 30 minutes, and I was saying to people like, no, I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to sort it out. I'm going to work this out. If I was playing it on, this is the one thing I do like about streaming. I feel totally focused and in the game when I'm streaming. So like, if I was playing Adventure by myself, not on the stream, I would have sat there and been like, oh, fuck this, I'm looking this up. But because I was in the stream, I was engaged. I was like, I want to figure this out. Also, I'm not looking at my phone, which sometimes I do have a really bad habit of just picking up my phone to look up Twitter because no reason whatsoever. But I don't do that when I'm streaming, so I do feel like I get a better experience that way. But yeah, Adventure had so much maths. It was painful for me to play and everyone else to watch.
That's the worst. Yeah, my chat knows full well that it's my Achilles heel at this point, and occasionally we will stumble upon very basic mathematical problems. But my brain goes into panic mode when I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this isn't a difficult puzzle.
Yeah.
But my brain is so preoccupied with this thought of, oh, because it's not difficult, you're going to look really stupid when you spend more than a minute on it.
Oh,
and that thought is so overriding. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Like, what is worse puzzle? I must ask you. That actually puzzle in the thing, or in Resident Evil 1 where you've got to put the jewelry box pieces together and it's awful.
That's a rough one.
So what are you saying?
That's a difficult one. I'm trying to remember the last time I did a playthrough of Resi 1. I remember it being frustrating, but I didn't remember being stuck on it for terribly long. Whereas Resident Evil 4 is a game that I've played so many times before, and yet the sliding block puzzle still pauses my playthrough.
Yeah.
So I still got to give it to the RE4 one.
Okay, that's
Again,
fair.
it's embarrassing because it's not difficult, but my brain just doesn't process the images the way it's supposed to. I don't know.
Do you feel this pressure to be good when you're playing the games?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I've kind of strayed away from some more difficult titles that I know personally that I'm quite competent at, but I don't like streaming them because I feel like I've kind of almost bigged myself up a little bit too much. You know, like I'm a huge Devil May Cry mark. Like I like a lot of character action games. Devil May Cry. Like I recently went back and I platinum Vanquish, which is kind of on the verge of it. I'm a big mark for Bayonetta as well. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Like those are fantastic games, and I enjoy playing them a lot. But I've spent so much time on my streams talking about them and going on about my completion of them and my trophy hunting in them and that sort of thing, that I don't think I could stream it now without having to switch off chat and say to them, look, if I'm going to play this to the standard that I know that I can, I need to not talk to you guys for the next 5 minutes, hour, you know, however long. You know,
Definitely.
It's a weird position to be in. I think if I was going to branch out into video content creation that wasn't live streaming, absolutely, I do more challenging stuff. Right, then I can cut out all the bad bits and make myself look really smart and good at the video games.
Yeah,
I'd love to do playthroughs of, you know, Devil May Cry or Ninja Gaiden as well. I went through the Master Collection of that recently as well. That was great fun.
That would be one thing that will always cut a stream a bit shorter for me if I can feel myself getting to a level of frustration that I just feel is not. I like to be, you know, a nice person, I'd hope. I don't really want to be effing and jeffing, as they say, and getting like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, which happened to me when I tried to stream Crash Bandicoot 4, which I will never play again. I rage quit on stream. I deleted the game and never played.
Uninstalled.
Yeah,
okay.
I went hardcore rage quit because I found myself just in this point where I was playing the game and I was like, I'm not having fun, and if I'm not having fun, is anyone else having fun? Well, apparently they were, because they just enjoyed seeing the demise of my, you know, jovial nature to just like, fuck this is the worst game
I've got
ever.
a very similar group of regulars. Yeah, they all enjoy watching me suffer and fail.
But I don't enjoy it.
I've rage quit a few games over the course of my streams, and the last one, if you can believe it, was The Last Guardian.
I've not played that.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, maybe I'll just leave it. Oh yeah, as Jamie says, like when I get in a mood, I'm called Moody XP. So sometimes
Moody XP, nice.
That's my alter ego. And I don't like Moody XP. I hate when Moody XP comes out. But the people seem to enjoy it sometimes. I always feel like I've let myself down. Like I don't know, I just have this like I don't know what it is, but I don't like to be that person. But
Of course, I think if you can still turn it into good content, then that's all that matters. Like, hey, if people are enjoying Moody XP on stream for a little bit, if they're happy, then you should be happy. That's fine.
But I'm not,
know.
John. I'm moody. This is the problem. I'm not enjoying myself.
I am moody, but good content though.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it's a struggle. But
previously, when I have kind of rage quit titles, or I've kind of reached the end of my rope with them, I feel like I've balanced things nicely from a stream point of view, where I hit my limit, everyone in chat kind of sees me cap out, and there's that final sigh of exhaustion as I go, okay, fuck it. And then I tab us over to the just chatting screen, and then I will proceed to spend 20 minutes to half an hour articulating exactly why we are never playing this game on stream again.
Oh, no, yes, you need to be definitive in the reason why this is over.
I'm not just going to throw it out the window like toys out of a pram and go, no, don't like it. I'm going to justify my moodiness. I'm going to justify the decision to never touch this trash again.
I think my problem also stems from the fact that I'm very stubborn and I really like to play games to the best of my ability. So sometimes, like, I just saw it in the chat that Robert Wall was talking about the Resident Evil 3 stream that I did, where I was playing the game on Nightmare and I was dumb. And I was like, at the beginning, you know when you have all those points and you can like spend them on things? I was like, oh,
Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice if I bought the lockpick and a costume for Jill? And so I did all that, and then it got to the Nightmare, and I didn't have enough points for the RPG. So I had to fight
Ouch.
Nemesis on Nightmare.
Mate. Okay, yeah.
And the thing is, people are like, Lucy, just don't play it anymore. And I was like, no, I'm fucking beating this fucking boss. And that's the thing, is like, Moody XP comes from a place as well of just pure stubbornness. Like, I know I can do it. If I know I can do a thing, then I'm doing it. I don't care. So I think people watch me just do that boss fight for like 2 hours straight because I was not giving up. And then I think it had to roll over to a next day because I still couldn't do it. And I think
there's got to be a payoff though at that point, which I don't know if you want to, but I think that segues quite nicely into Elden Ring talk.
Yes, I'm wondering if we should talk about Souls games in general and maybe save an Elden Ring for another. Because, John, I feel bad that I've not been able to give you the proper experience that the people have wanted today. And I was going to say, I would like to invite you back to properly dive into Elden Ring. With
If you'll have me, I would absolutely love to.
Yeah, because I'm not satisfied with the care that I have given you as a guest today. I've had to ask you for tech help, for emotional support.
It's okay. I'm a shoulder to cry on through a Google call. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel bad, and I think that we have like good conversations to be had, and people shouldn't have to watch us be like this. So if you would like, we could do. I'd like to talk about
definitely.
Souls. But we can do a proper deep dive. I'll try and beat it as well if I can.
I was going to say, if we save this for another time, then I mean, I've got my plat, but as I mentioned at the start of the stream, I'm still fucking finding stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy how big this game is. I'm still talking to people that have just started, and they're pointing out things like, "Oh, how did you do this boss? How did you do this boss?" And my reaction is, "Who? I didn't even know there was a thing there. What the hell now?" So I've still got a ton more stuff to do to explore. I know it was kind of originally on the docket, but I would like to play around some more now that patch 1.3 has dropped, because they've fixed and rebalanced an awful lot of things.
I would get it up, but I'm afraid it might break everything. But do you have the patch notes to mind? Because John has beaten the game.
I've got them up.
Yes. I wonder if we could. Let me see. Everybody, hold on to your butts. We'll see what's going to happen.
I've got them here. It's on the old Namkai Bando website. Yeah. So I think the big thing that a lot of people were kind of decrying, celebrating, depending on what side of the fence that you sit on, was the changes to Mimic Tier. Now, yeah, for anyone who's not familiar with Mimic Tier, and it's not like a key story beat or anything, so I don't think we're kind of dipping into spoiler territory. Mimic Tier is a spirit summon in Elden Ring. In the early game, you'll get a few of them, like the first one that the Spirit Tuner gives you is a jellyfish that spits poison, and some of the other low-level ones that are quite useful are just like a bunch of soldiers who can tank some damage for you, or some dogs, or that kind of thing. But I've noticed sometimes that summons are a little bit buggy, especially in some of the optional dungeons that I've encountered. Like I've walked confidently into a boss room, like ready to stomp it with my +10 mimic tier. I've rang my little bell, and mimic tier has spawned underneath the floor and immediately died. Or sometimes it's spawned behind me on the other side of the fog wall and spends the duration of the fight trying to run in to my side. This is something which I'm also hoping they might have patched with with this latest update. This is exactly what I mean. But like Stormhawk, where? I I've picked up like 30 fucking spirit summons. I've never picked up a hawk. This is your side boss, yeah. Mhm. Oh, I have heard of this, but I think I missed that boss fight. It's not the one. It's not the one that's guarding the axe in like the mess hall. Oh, okay. I remember the door, but I don't think I had enough stone sword keys at the time to get through. I oh fuck. Okay, right. Uh oh, you were the four belfries you talking about? I think I missed that completely. I feel like I cleaned out all four of those warp zones, at the four belfries, but I didn't do it until quite late game. So it's entirely possible that I might have picked up a summon and just like not registered it at all because I've got my mimic tier. So nothing else matters. You will have so with the mimic tier, you actually fight it as a boss before you get it as a summon. And it's cool. Like it's the classic mirror fight. Yeah, go on, go on. Oh no, how long's that been going on for?
Since we switched to this screen, I just see Martina going, Lucy, attention, attention. I'm so engaged. It's because I switched to this mic.
It's the part of the PALFox show, everybody.
Yeah, so thanks for holding that segment while I just did this. I wonder what they thought was happening when I was doing this. You will never know.
It must have been incredibly confusing for everybody.
Yeah, to have a one-sided conversation. Thanks, Martina. I had the chat. See, I need to get better at this streaming thing, John. I don't know what's going on. Like,
okay, like,
just...
people are still in chat. If this was one of my streams, they'd have bailed already. I'm not putting up with this shit. Not for this guy.
Oh god, I don't know why anyone's here anymore. It's a mystery to me. They're just like, what the hell? Oh well, thank you everybody. Thank you, Martina, for bringing my attention to it. I need to do one of those things where everyone has like a setup. This is my dream set. I know we're transitioning quickly, but I want one of those ultra wide, sort of curved monitors.
I would love an ultra wide. But the problem with ultra wide is that they don't play nice with streaming setups.
Oh, don't they? Oh, that's the end of that dream.
I mean, I suppose it depends on what you're streaming. If you're on if you're doing like stuff straight from your PC, then it's fine. But I mean, you stream from something on a capture card, right? You're streaming from a console connected to a capture card, connected to your laptop. So how many screens are you on?
One. Well, I have the one
you...
and then just a TV.
Okay, so you're playing the game on the TV.
Yeah.
Right. Because what I would have to do, because I'm on two monitors here, like I would love to be able to chop both of these things in for an ultra wide, because it'd be a lot cleaner, and those things are super pretty.
Yeah.
But also, I know I need a separate screen to plug my console into through the capture card, and then something else to monitor the stream on. It's just not a practical choice.
Like a monitor that you turn horizontally.
I'd love something that I could stick vertically as well.
Oh. Yeah. Anyway, that's the... I'm such a Dumbo, like all the time. Anyway, I just divulged loads of Elden Ring secrets that you'll never know. To keep
There was some really
safety.
good pro strats in there, actually. I've got my plan. I didn't know anything that she was talking about.
Exactly.
I'm redoing my build as soon as this show's over.
So are there any other patch notes, things that we should be aware of that you think will help improve my experience as someone who's still quite early in the game?
In terms of stuff that I think is going to improve early game progression, the one that stands out to me, because most of the stuff that people have been talking about have been nerfs. Okay, there's stuff that's been popping up on Reddit and Twitter over the last few weeks that everyone knows is super strong, that they've been rebalanced a bit more. The thing that would have helped me a lot in the early game that I think will help other players is that they appear to have increased the drop rates of a bunch of smithing stones.
Oh, nice.
Specifically early level ones as well. Now this is some fucking amateur hour shit, right? But I played a cleric build for my run through of Elden. So primarily strength and a bit of support, faith magic. And I went through about 65 to 70 hours of that game with a +2 claw mark seal as my magic catalyst. And if for anyone who's unaware, these things go up to +25.
Do they?
Right.
I was unaware.
For special weapons, they'll go up to +10. They're upgraded with somber smithing stones. For anything that uses regular smithing stones, it goes up to +25. My magic catalyst, which was like 50% of my arsenal, was stuck on +2 because I couldn't find any more level 3 smithing stones. And you know what? My damage was fine. I was still managing. I was still clearing through bosses. I know I wasn't doing as much as I could have done. But I didn't find any of the early smithing stones that I needed. I was still picking up +4s and +5s, like right the way through to the shit I needed to get it to +25. But a lot of the early smithing stones I just kind of missed because they didn't seem to drop frequently enough, or I was just looking in the wrong places.
Yeah.
They seem to have fixed that.
That's cool. That'll be helpful
Because
for me.
the thing that then happened to me was that I got to end game and I was like, I really ought to upgrade this thing a little bit more. I had looked online for one cave that I knew had some like +3 smithing stones, picked up one of the fucking things, and then already had all the materials that I needed to get it from 3 to +25.
Nice. Well,
I'd missed everything in that +3 bottleneck.
friend of our lives, Brad Pepper, is in the chat.
Hey, Brad.
Hello. Says the NPC tags on the map is super helpful, which is something
Yes.
that I'm very excited for.
That was the next thing I was going to call out.
Yes.
So I forget what the language was they used. Added a function to record an icon and the name of an NPC on the map when you encounter that NPC. Now, I don't know if anyone's tried it already.
I don't know what this. I can't imagine what this looks like.
So if you used the map marker, map marker functions,
Oh my god, I love it. I make my
Super
own.
useful.
Yeah, orienteering the map.
It really, I think it genuinely, it pisses a lot of people off. I guess we'll talk about that another time. But I quite like that feeling of this almost scrapbook journal type map that I'm putting together, and I'm putting my own little markers on the NPCs and the merchants I find. I like that a lot. The way that this patch note is worded suggests that it's still a manual thing that you have to do. Added a function to record an icon. That suggests to me that you still have to do something with the map to get them added. But I don't know if it's automatic or not.
I'll have to
So
check
if
this
nobody
out.
in the chat knows, then I will check it out after the stream.
They just
Dom,
appear
thank you,
on the
Dom.
map.
They just appear on the map. That's super useful.
Thank you. Yeah, because I get real anxiety in these games about missing some of these quest lines because I love the nature of the fact that they are like you're not really sure what they're doing or what you're going to find. But in such an open world place, it's so easy to miss them. Whereas in Dark Souls and all the other games, you're more likely to run into them because it's a linear experience.
Definitely.
And I'm already petrified that I've missed somebody, and then because one of the people has disappeared from the round table hall place, I'm like, oh no! I hope I haven't like messed up like that.
I was quite concerned with some early game quest lines that I thought I'd fucked up.
Okay.
I won't spoil anything, but basically there was one NPC in particular who I'd spoken to. I went and did the thing that I thought I was supposed to do for them, and I just came back to a corpse. And when I press my X button on the corpse, it says they're dead.
Yeah.
And at that point, when that happened, I kind of threw my hands up in the air. I was like, well, fucked it up.
Can't look after everybody.
Right.
What is this?
I'm struggling enough to keep myself alive. I can't be responsible for all of you guys as well. But I thought I'd fucked it up. Turns out I didn't.
I think I might know who you're talking about.
Okay, this is the one south
and the dad.
Of the starting point.
Yes.
Yes, I believe that is supposed to happen. Did you finish off that quest line?
I don't know. I went back and I was like, oh dear. So I went back to the dad and he had nothing to say. And I was like, oh.
If you go back to her,
Okay.
it might have to be at a certain time of day. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But you should find the dad there
Okay.
at her corpse.
Okay, I'll do
And
that.
you go over and you talk to him for a little bit, and he swears revenge, kind of thing. And then what you want to do is warp out and go to a place called the Revenger's Shack.
Ooh. Okay, where all revenge takes place, obviously.
It's a very revenge-heavy quest line, this one.
I should take Unnamed Rival there. I have an Unnamed Rival, John. We're friends now. Well,
wait, is this an actual
yeah,
person?
this is a real person.
You have an unnamed rival?
Yeah, in my real life. They were more of the 2021 rival. Like, this person didn't know that I had a rivalry with them, but I was very much
Oh, that's awkward. That's embarrassing.
But so they would give me updates on their thing that I was rivaling with, and I'd be like, oh, I've got to beat them.
I've always wanted to have a rival.
Oh, it's great until
I always wanted like a Virgil to my Dante, someone to have a fight with a sword in the rain on top of a Tenemigru. That'd be great.
I mean, it partly comes from my own snobbishness, but I found out this person had platinumed Returnal, and I was like, I can't have.
Fuck you. Who the hell do you think you are? Where do you get off?
Yeah, how dare you platinum Returnal?
I'm the platinum person.
Yeah, so I swore vengeance on this person, and I have now seeked vengeance.
You've sought vengeance. How exactly are you going to act your vengeance?
Oh, well,
what does that involve?
There's
does
a
that just mean getting more
scoreboard.
trophies?
Well, kind of. There's like a scoreboard that they don't know about, and I'm 3-2 on the scoreboard. But because I'm 3-2, I'm closing the scoreboard, you know?
God. Oh, right, quit while you're ahead, right?
Exactly. I mean, now we're
You've got
friends.
to think about this from an outside perspective, though, Luce. Like, they are your rival, and they don't even know that they're your rival.
I even wrote a song about them. Yeah, it gets into weird territories.
It's become this point of obsession. They don't even know who you are.
Yeah, they're very friendly to me. If they ever found out, I'd be mortified. They'd be like, I'm unnamed. Don't worry. Someone asked me, John, if it was you, but when you were coming on the stream, on my Discord, they're like, is this unnamed rival? Because I forgot to name you.
And I was like, I'm the unnamed rival.
And I was like, no, don't worry, this is John.
Trust me, if anyone in your Discord checks our comparative subscriber numbers, then they'll know immediately I'm not a rival. I won't qualify yet.
But I have my eyes on a new adversary, Nameless Nemesis. We'll see how this one turns.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of you three, Nameless Nemesis, Unknown Rival, and LudiXP are going to have a showdown at the Revenger's Shack.
Yes, obviously.
In Elden Ring. Excellent. All right.
Yeah, and I'd be actually worried to take on Unnamed Rival because they have also beaten the game of Elden Ring. They are playing Elden Ring as well, I have found out, and they were much further than I am. Finished
invade them.
I can't, but that would be the ultimate. That would be 4-2. But then what if they beat me? Then it'd be 3-3, and I wouldn't be able to live with that.
I know, it's rough.
Yeah. Oh.
Brad in chat is my rival. He invaded me when we played Demon Souls once, and I won by virtue of a really shitty internet connection.
Nice.
But a win's a win. I'm going to take it, and certainly didn't offer him a rematch. Sorry about that, man.
Oh. Well, no, when to the victor the spoils. When you are the winner, it's up to you.
Exactly. Dark Souls games are all about cheap victories. At the end of the day, you take the wins that you can get. It doesn't really matter how.
And in wrestling, if you don't sign your, rematch clause, then I'm sorry, buddy, you ain't getting that rematch.
Exactly.
Yeah, got JBL out of the
Doesn't say here we have to.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can't remember how we got onto this conversation. We were just talking
NPC
about
quest lines. They're now marked on your map in Elden Ring, which I think is super useful. Apparently, they have added a new NPC as well.
Oh, interesting.
NPC Jarben, who I presume is another one of the living jars. I don't know if you've encountered Alexander.
The big pot man.
Big pot man.
Oh, he's a good guy. I met some not so nice pots, and I was just like...
They're mostly very angry pots. Yes.
Yeah. And I was
Alexander's
like, hey.
Alexander's a bro.
Yes.
Have you done Radan yet?
Is
He's one of the shard holders.
Does he have a big hat that looks a bit like a thimble?
No, Radan is a very big guy on a very small horse that you fight in a big desert-style battlefield in Caelid.
Oh, I've not been there yet.
Okay.
Okay, we'll just...
Interesting.
Yes, I've not.
Once you have done that, you'll have another opportunity to talk to Alexander.
Okay.
I would be interested to see what your opinion on him is after you have spoken to him.
Okay. I would like to touch on how I love the accents of all the NPCs in this game. I think it's... The guy with the big hat, oh my god, he's got a really good voice.
Is he the mage who sits near the balcony in Round Table Hold, yeah?
I've never seen him at round table hold. Round table. What happened there?
Round tables.
Round
Yeah.
table hold. And now I've turned into an NPC out of Elden Ring. You want to look for those Elden Rings? Oh, good luck.
You're starting to sound more like a Fable NPC at this point.
He's got a very gruff voice, and he talks like, thank you for helping me, Tarnished. And I want to take on that dragon.
Yes, yeah.
I like
I'm trying to
him.
remember his name.
Yeah, or when he turns up, Yuri or something of the something or other. Sometimes you go into his world and help him out. But yeah, I like him. I also like the girl who's like, are you here for spirit tuning? I'm just like, yes, I am. Oh, I don't have the glove ghost or whatever it is, that flower that I need. Yes.
Oh, the glove wall that you need for your upgrades.
Yes. I'm like, oh, I'm out of that. Don's put it in the chat. Is it Uri? Is that how?
Yura.
Yura,
Yes.
that's how you put.
Yes.
That's why John's the copywriter and I am the lonely
Effectively,
designer.
the return of Big Hat Logan, for sure, yeah.
What, really?
But yeah, like Roderica, the spirit tuner, is an excellent character.
Yeah.
And this is something that I was marking out about over on Twitter a little while ago. It was just after I'd finished my first run of the game, and yeah, again, spoiler free and stuff. But Roderica and Hugh, the blacksmith at Round Table Hold,
Oh, yeah.
are my single two favorite NPCs in that entire game.
Okay, now I have to ask you after this. Go.
They have a really compelling storyline. It's very human, it's very warm, and by the time the game comes to a close, you really I really fucking felt for them. I was invested in those two as a pairing and as individuals in a way that I wasn't with any other NPC in that game. And I was surprised because my timeline has been full of nothing but Elden talk. And people have been shouting about, this quest line, this great character, this area, this boss, whatever. Nobody was talking about Hugh and Roderica. But I loved them by the end of the game, and they are two of my favorite series NPCs, not just in Elden, but in the entire fucking series. I would highly recommend anyone who's currently playing through it to talk to the both of them as much as possible. Their quest line, and don't quote me on this because I don't know for sure if it's the case, but their quest line seems to advance alongside the main story.
Okay.
As opposed to having something that you individually kind of push forward. Their dialogue options seems to change, or new dialogue options become available once you hit certain story milestones. And it's a very backloaded story. A lot happens towards the end game.
I'll look out for them.
Check in on them occasionally. Roderica the Spirit Tuner, chat to her and go and chat to Hugh, who's your blacksmith at Round Table Hold. And assuming that they're both there already.
Yes, they are.
If they haven't done so already, they will. One of them will acknowledge the other's presence, and that kind of kicks things off from there.
Oh, okay, interesting. I will look out for that. So then, John, I want to ask you then, Souls characters, NPCs, who are you going on a night out with? All right, you've got the catalogue. Who's a good night out? Who's going to give you a good day?
That's not a character, a question that I was expecting.
It's something that the RKG boys, they always like muck about with. Like, they once talking about the Dark Souls Christmas party and who's banging who in the house. And I was like, oh, this is such a perplexing storyline, but I love it. So I want to know who you taking out. It's boys' night or girls' night, whoever you want to go. It's Saturday, going out town.
For a lads' night out, I think Siegward of Katarina would be a good pick.
Yes.
Like
he might lose his arm at the end of the night and be at the bottom of a well.
Right, exactly. You'll have to fish it out for him.
God.
He's already well equipped for it, as evidently he carries Sieg Brows.
Yes.
And will offer you straight up the motions, cheers, and clink them together.
He's good dude.
So I think Siegward. I think Solaire.
You have to. Solaire is the ultimate, bro.
He's going to get so messy so fast. Right, because A, he's into the jolly cooperation thing, which makes me think that he's very susceptible to peer pressure.
Probably.
And the ceremonial dunking of Sunny D over the helmet with your Estus in Dark Souls, I think that translates very nicely to alcohol.
He's all getting shots.
Right.
And then he's got his arm around you at the end and you're all singing.
I think if you wanted somebody to stabilize the party and get you home safe, somebody to literally lean on, you get Havel with you.
Oh, yes.
Havel the Rock, I imagine, has the constitution of a fucking champion.
Yeah. Guess who the bartender is? I've just realised who it is. It's Andre, the blacksmith. Don't you be
Andre,
going
for
hollow
sure.
out there as he gives you the tank card. Oh, what a night out this is at the Dark Souls Tavern.
Who's your favourite level up lady?
Oh,
If you include
okay.
Bonfire Chan of Dark Souls 1, because you don't really have a character to speak to.
That is true, yeah. You just have
But
those...
I know a lot of people stan the Maiden in Black from
I
Demons.
do, like the Maiden in Black.
She's got a lot of personality.
The doll's quite nice.
Doll's a classic. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Emerald Herald from 2.
Okay, I can't speak to that.
So you've not played 2 at all?
I'm sorry, I have to call up Martina's going on a night out with Patches, which I think is a very, very interesting choice.
Patches?
You can't go out
Holy
with
shit.
Patches. You wouldn't be able to trust him as far as you could throw Patches. Like, he'd be the prankster of the night. He's the person that you're like, really? You're bringing Patches? And you're like, oh, he's a laugh, really, don't? You're like, no, he's a bit. And you're like, fine, I'll let him. And then by the time you know it, you're tied to a lamppost and he's stolen your money. And he's
If
like,
you're
oh,
lucky.
joke's on you.
Patches is going to tie you up and shank you in an alleyway somewhere. You'll never fucking see him again.
Exactly. Martina, we are not inviting Patches on this night out. Are you mad?
That's some high risk, high reward drinking, or just high risk drinking.
Yeah, I bet he wouldn't even be. He'd be like, crouching in the corner, just laughing, as he does his crouch and watching
Doing his
all get
Patches
drunk.
squat. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Patches. What are you talking
Fucking
about?
Patches. I like the Emerald Herald a lot, but that's because I've got a big soft spot for Dark Souls 2 in general.
Okay, yeah.
Like Dark Souls 2's Majula is one of my favourite hub worlds.
Oh, I like
I
Violet
think
Shrine.
I prefer Majula to Firelink Shrine. Personally,
Ooh, okay.
I find it a little more comforting. I suppose. Like the Firelink Shrine in 1 is iconic, and there's some nice callbacks to it in Dark Souls 3's Firelink as well. But they both feel a little cold and empty, which I get is very much a Dark Souls vibe to be going for. But I appreciate Majula has an element of contrast to it. There's that little kind of gentle instrumental music in the background. There's the permanent sunset. There's the sound of the waves lapping against the shore. As you look at your different paths out of the area, Majula feels like a genuinely warm, relaxing place to be in comparison to the rest of the game map, where it's all cold or miserable or poison swamp or on fire. I find it quite a nice place to chill.
I will play at some point.
It's well worth the go. Like Dark Souls 2 is probably one of the most divisive titles like in the entire series, and I very much feel like an odd one out when I talk to people about Souls games when I say I really like Dark 2, because objectively there's a lot of Souls metrics, I suppose, that you could use that it does fall short on. It doesn't have the design cohesion of other Souls games. Miyazaki wasn't directing it. Its layout is weird. It's like moving out from the center of a wheel down its spokes, as opposed to anything like Dark Souls 1's tower, where it's all perfectly well connected and joined. Dark 2 uses a lot of impossible space. It's got problems with its enemy balancing and its bosses being largely variants on the same humanoid form.
I heard this, yeah.
It does struggle with its variety a little bit. But there's a certain indescribable something to the atmosphere of Dark 2 that I find very compelling. Majula's a great homeworld. I enjoy exploring its environments as well, and I don't really care that it's not the most technically sound or the most what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the best constructed Souls environment in franchise history. I just like being there.
Okay.
Which is a rare thing to be able to say about a Souls game.
Like I get what you're saying, because I feel the same way about Dark Souls 1. Like I like being there. Like I just get the happy vibes hearing like the Firelink Shrine music and going to my favorite places. But to answer your question from before, I'd still say the Maiden in Black. I like the way she says, "And then touch the demon within me." And I'm like, I will touch the demon within you. Let's go.
You know what's great about the Maiden in Black as well is that she says those lines while you're already allocating your level up points. It's not like the fucking Emerald Herald where you've got to mash through her dialogue every single goddamn time.
Really?
It's like there, seek lest. Yeah, I know. Before you're allowed to start allocating your points.
Oh no, that'd be annoying.
At least the Maiden in Black has the decency to just
take nourishment. Sometimes I think about the world to be mended when I'm just like walking around and there's awfulness happening in the world. I was like, when will the Black Maiden help us the world to be mended? But I do shout out to the doll as well. She is pretty cool. I used to always sing
the
that
doll-
Cliff Richard song whenever I met her. Like, got myself to cry and talk and sleep. I'm sure she loved it.
She reacts as well, which is a little detail that I've never kind of quite forgotten and always been disappointed when other NPCs don't react to gestures. Because I believe Bloodborne was the first one to introduce an NPC that reacted to the gestures that you pulled. Right, if you bow to the doll in the dream, then she will also bow. If you do something else that she doesn't really know how to respond to, then she'll kind of quizzically cock her head to the side, sort of thing, and it's cute. But my first instinct when I got to Roundtable Hold in Elden was to like, let's emote at some characters and see if they do anything, and none of them fucking react. And it's like,
they're just like, who's that weirdo that's joined? Like, see the grace.
I need to earn their respect, basically.
Exactly.
Before I go on a date with Lucatiel, I'd love to go on a date with Lucatiel.
Oh, we're talking about dates now. I never asked you who you romanced in Mass Effect.
Oh, this is okay. So I romanced Liara.
Okay.
In ME1, and I have planned on rolling that through to ME2. Largely because of how I've created my shepherd. Because my shepherd is an older gentleman.
Okay. Ooh,
I went with a custom built shep as opposed
silver fox.
to default shep. A silver fox was the idea that I was going for, right? Like he is very clearly a man in his like mid-40s.
Okay.
Also, so he's got the grey hair, the short back and sides, a bit of 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Going on, like the dark sunken eyes that we all have after 2 years of living through a pandemic. Yes. He's a very relatable shepherd these days. But it meant that when other crew members started coming in that I could romance,
it's tough, isn't it?
and they started flirting with us, it was really fucking weird. It was really cringy, especially in ME2. Ever since we picked up Jack, and like Jack is stunning. Jack is gorgeous. You know, she's got the whole kind of, Suicide Girls aesthetic going on.
Isn't that belt a little bit painful on the nipples?
The belt is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck is going on with the belt. Like some designer was clearly just feeling when he came up with Jack's original design and costume. Like, I'm gonna take all of my fetishes and I'm gonna put them into this character design because I want an NPC that I can romance. I immediately stuck Jack in her old costume. Because at least it gives her a fucking vest. Yes. Like, what are you doing wearing this belt?
Good nipple tape.
Right. That's got to be some industrial strength shit that she puts on there. But Jack, I don't know what her canonical age is, but I mean, I assume she's supposed to be in her like mid to late 20s or so. And hearing Shepard try and awkwardly flirt with her, like there was a dialogue option that came up where Jack was suggesting that, we steal the Normandy and fly away together and we could just be a pair. And my 40-something-year-old shepherd is like, would you want to be my first mate? And I just died inside. It was like your old Da trying to flirt at the bar after his second divorce kind of thing. So all that to say, of all of the NPCs that I've encountered that are romanceable in Mass Effect, the only one that feels age appropriate, perhaps just emotionally as opposed to physically, because the species difference, is Liara.
Yes.
That Liara feels mature and level-headed, and everybody else, by virtue of the fact that they're a little bit younger, it's just cringy seeing my shepherd try and flirt with them. But Liara seems to kind of get him. They seem to be on the same wavelength as each other. So it was a very natural, organic romance.
How did you feel with the fact that her stuff is DLC in this game? Like, you may not realise, actually.
Well, that's just the thing. I didn't realise, because this is my first experience with it all in the Legendary Collection. And I guess one of the things that I was talking about earlier when I was mentioning shit that I enjoy about streaming is that I've got a bunch of Mass Effect fans in my chat as regulars who've done this a few times over, know it inside and out. And they're permanently popping in and saying, oh, by the way, this quest that you're on is DLC. This whole character is DLC. I wouldn't be able to tell because there is a consistent level of quality in ME2, certainly across what was in the base game and its DLC, as well as its main missions and its side missions. It is very hard. With all of my experience playing games and playing bits of DLC, they've integrated it so well into the vanilla experience that I'm not able to tell, when I start a mission that, oh, this is a DLC mission. I have to have chat do it for me. So it constantly surprises me when I'm
That's
playing
cool,
content
yeah.
and somebody goes, oh, by the way, this wasn't in the vanilla game.
I think the DLC, they have a little bit more fun, I find, with the dialogue. It's a little bit more, I like that.
One that we did stumble upon was a mission where I think it was the mission with Kasumi to get her on as a crewmate, and
Yes.
you're infiltrating a party.
Yes, I like that.
At some guy's mansion. And they have some, I think they have some fun with that. Like, again, the dialogue's very cheesy and hammy. It's very much a kind of self-aware Mission Impossible James Bond type spoof. And then even when you get into the bowels of that mission and you're looking through his like private art collection, there's the head of the Statue of Liberty, and somebody makes a Planet of the Apes reference. And there's one of the trolls from Dragon Age as a statue.
Yes.
And like of everything that feels DLC, this feels the most like DLC because they're clearly just having a goof with it, right?
And that's the theme through all the DLCs, that you'll find a lot of fun references throughout them, which I thought was good. John, someone has informed me that we've been going for like 2 hours.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, oh. So if anyone has any questions for John, maybe we'll skip to the end, like the Q&A, and then your strange relic, and we can come back to some of these. So I thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you.
It's been good. I feel like we've barely scratched half the things that I wanted to talk about.
We
didn't even get onto like trophy psychology and philosophy.
Yeah.
I had a whole bit prepared for that.
Well, let's park that, because I do, as I said, want to get you back so that we can have
Definitely.
a good
we'll do it
conversation.
another time.
Not in 2 frames per second, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, yeah, if anyone has any questions, now is the time to drop it in the chat for John. But John, we ask all of our guests, my guests, so I guess it's just me, depends who I am, to bring to the show a strange relic of their choice to add to the Strange Relic Vault. It's an item of either value or what you, a relic to you. So please tell us your Strange Relic Vault thing.
So, my strange relic, this was actually an immediate pick. As soon as you mentioned it to me on Discord, I was like, I know immediately what I'm going to pick for this. And it's something that I carry around in my wallet, and I have carried around in my wallet since 2013.
Nice.
And it is a Hatsune Miku Project Diva Precious Memories Weiss Schwartz trading card. Right.
Nice.
And it's number 001A. It's the foil edition, and it's signed. Now, that's kind of dumb, right, as a thing to give a shit about. But to give you the short version of this story, I picked this up in 2013 when I had my first ever solo holiday. And I ended up going to Japan. I was there for about a month and a half. Also, nice. And I was very lucky at the time. I had a job that paid reasonably well, and they were happy to give me the time off to do like a big trip, what have you. So I disappeared off my first ever solo holiday to Japan, and it was terrifying. Like
I can imagine.
I'd never kind of gone as far as like fucking Scotland on my own.
I'm impressed.
Let alone the other side of the world. So I was a bit nervous. I was 19, I think, at the time. But put a lot of time into prep and planning for it, and disappeared off and did my thing. And at the time I'd booked like some hotels, but not one for every leg of the journey. So there were some nights where I was just like kind of freebooting it, or just seeing where I ended up, or like what accommodation I could grab at the last minute and that kind of thing. But to keep this brief, from the moment that I landed there, I didn't know anything about Project Diva as a series or Hatsune Miku or Vocaloid as a character, that kind of thing. From the moment I landed in the country, Hatsune Miku was fucking everywhere. Like, Project Diva was at the height of its popularity. Like, Project Diva F had just dropped on the Vita and the PS3. The arcades were full of Project Diva machines and stuff as well. And I was seeing this character everywhere. And eventually I started to look into who she was. So on the evenings where I was in the hotel, I was just on my iPad or what have you, I was like, okay, who the fuck is this character? Because she's clearly just exploded in popularity in this part of the world, and people already knew about her in the West, but it was the first I'd seen of her. And I was like, oh, cool, she's like a kind of virtual idol. And I learned about Vocaloid software, and it's a voice synthesizer that allows independent creators to create music that use a character's voice. And there's a lot of indie created songs, as well as professionally licensed and made ones for the arcade cabinets, and the series that Sega put out, which is Project Diva. And I kind of filed it away and didn't give it much thought until like the 4th or 5th day there. when I did my first trip to Akihabara, and I saw a sign outside of a theater for a live performance of Hatsune Miku and Project Diva music. And I kind of walked past it before I stopped and turned around and did a double take because something didn't add up. Like, this isn't a real character. How is there a live performance of her music? And I went over in the best broken Japanese I could manage. Like, I asked the guy at the front desk, what's the thing here? And he answered in English, you know, because I very clearly am, you know, and he spoke better English than I spoke Japanese. But he told me, yeah, it's a Project Diva concert. Hatsune Miku, he pointed to her on the poster, but hologram.
Oh.
Fucking hologram? Like, what, are you serious? And I was curious, but I was also on a budget, so I was like, how much are tickets? And he was like, they were equivalent of like 35, 40 quid or so. And I was like, man, I don't know, this is like my spending money for the day. This feels like a risk. This feels like a fucking gamble, you know? And I just started to walk away, and then something in the back of my mind went, for fuck's sake, pal, you've flown halfway across the world. You spent so much time organizing this trip. What the hell are you doing? Like, just say yes to things. Just see what fucking happens. Go with the flow. Take some risks, man. And it was absolutely what I thought it was. It was a risk, and I thought, there's no way this could be a live performance. It's just going to be like a television screen at the back of a theater playing some music videos. But in the end, I went, fuck it. Like, let's hand over the money. Let's go see the thing. It was the last day that this hologram concert was on as well, and I ended up disappearing downstairs into this theater in this room that all of a sudden was packed with like 200, 300 people. Also, and I sat down and the lights dimmed and everyone was in like Hatsune Miku t-shirts and they were waving banners, and the screen flickered on in the background and it started playing music videos, Hatsune Miku songs. My heart sank a little bit and I'm like, oh fuck, I've just been ripped off for like 35 notes. Okay, whatever. And it got through the first couple, and then another like layer of screen slid open behind where the TV was. And I shit you not, and I struggle to articulate this to this day, she just fucking stepped out from off stage.
No.
Hatsune Miku, the character in 3D hologram format, she stepped out from off stage. And it is the single most convinced in my life I have ever been of a bit of technology.
Wow,
like
that's what the ticket money went towards.
That's exactly what it goes on, right? Like I've seen the hologram concerts and stuff, like when Gorillaz did it and shit, but on a 2D screen, like on YouTube or, you know, videos or what have you. But seeing an actual functioning hologram with a degree of competency behind it in front of me, it was surreal. Whoa. And everybody in the room lost their shit, right? They start pulling out glow sticks from fuck knows where. I'm like the only one in the crowd without glow sticks, and they're all synchronizing their movements and shit. And I sat there fucking transfixed for like an hour and a half, and it was like the most magical hour and a half of my entire goddamn fucking life, right? Anyway, I left. I became a convert. I became obsessed with the music. I started playing the games. That was when I bought my first PS Vita because I wanted to pick up a copy of Project Diva F that had just dropped over there. And I noticed a bunch of shops had started selling these trading cards. And every shop that I went in for the rest of that trip that sold them, I bought myself a pack of these trading cards for the whole thing. And then I got to the last day that I was there, like 4 weeks later or so. And I just thought it would be really nice if I could round out this trip by getting a good pull of a special trading card kind of thing. And I bought myself one final pack on the way out, basically on my last day from a little independent store in Akihabara, and that was it. That was the foil #1 in that series, quote unquote, signed by Miku trading card kind of thing. I slipped it into a little wallet from another one that I grabbed, and that went in my actual wallet, and it's never left since. And you know what? I don't give quite as much of a fuck as I used to about Project Diva or all the music. You know, I played all the games and enjoyed them. It's a great rhythm action game system. If you're into them, I think it's very intuitive. They're a lot of fun and the music is solid. But I've always carried that around as a little reminder to me of what can happen when you just decide to go fuck it and take a chance on something. say yes to something. And I did that for the rest of that trip. Every time an opportunity came up, you know, I had a great time hanging out with an old man in Ginza who said he was a tourist hunter and wanted to practice his English, and he showed me around, and we hung out and had beers in the street for an afternoon. You know, every single time for the rest of that trip when something presented itself as an opportunity.
I like that mentality.
I was like, fuck it, yeah, we'll go for it. And that's something that I've tried to carry with me, you know, ever since coming back from that trip.
I'm a big fan of that. Well, here it is. It's going. Okay, there we go. I've fixed it before you guys are like, no audio. There it is. PALFox's sign trading card. I'm not going to butcher the name. In the strange relic vault for always and eternity.
Thank you.
We have a couple of questions just to round out for you. Jamie is asking, was it Jamie? No, Fabio says, how many tattoos do you have?
How many tattoos do I have? Technically they're 4, but they're all connected on either side. So I've actually, I'm tattooed from my chest and my shoulders up to these full sleeves that I've got here. And it's the same on the other side as well. So they were done in 4 pieces by a nice lady called Kanai, who runs a tattoo studio here in London on Old Street called Ninetales Tattoos. They do some great work. It's all traditional Japanese style woodblock print artwork, and I've got an orange kitsune fox on one shoulder. You might just be able to see his face poking out.
Yeah, that's
cool. And then I've got a white nine-tailed fox on the other shoulder, and they're both kind of facing each other and stuff.
Cool.
And then, because I only had the rest of the sleeves finished off last year, actually, these are relatively fresh. It's going to be real awkward to get a good angle.
Yes.
Each one, I've got a line of a 2-line haiku on it by a guy called Mitsuo Aida, who was a kind of Zen poet and philosopher. But the poem itself simply translates into here and now.
Nice.
And like the trading card, it is a reminder to myself to be present and enjoy the moment and not worry quite so much about what's gone before or what's gone since. And yes, those are my tattoos. But yeah, Kanai over at Ninetailed Tattoos, she's got a great Instagram account as well under the same name that she keeps up to date with all of her work. She is fantastic. They offer a great service. So if anyone in London is looking for a Japanese style tattoo, highly recommended. Oh,
nice. Well, I hope you have enjoyed the moment here on Locking It Down with Lucy. Apologies once again.
I have thoroughly. It was a rocky start.
It was.
But you know what? In a twisted way, it put me right at ease.
Oh, I'm glad.
It really took the pressure off. You know.
Oh God, it put me right into anxiety street. I was like this, and then I was like, oh no.
We got the disaster out of the way early, and then it meant that I could just kind of chill and go, well, I mean, we can't fuck it up any worse. So.
It was Titanic in reverse. If the ship went down first, and then you got the chit chat. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to talk to you. I'll make sure to get you back on the show. I'm going to sort out my laptop because this shall not do. And,
absolutely.
We'll have a deep dive.
Tech test.
Yes, well, another ill-fated tech test. No, it'll be good. And we'll make sure to touch on Elden Ring deeper. I'll try and get further into it. And I do want to hear your thoughts on trophy hunting, which is something that a lot of people on my channel are very much into. But
definitely,
before we leave, PALFox asked you, the Locking It Down with Lucy audience, what is your favourite console gen? You have 5 seconds to finish the voting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a very quick one. We're going to end the poll and see what it is and if it was what you imagined it would be. So this takes a little bit of time to ruminate.
Drum roll, please.
Yes, drum roll as we get the... Now, YouTube should really save this, but it doesn't, I found out. So I have to read them out. Okay, so PALFox asked you what your favourite console generation is, and at 17%, the 6th generation is in last place, which is your favourite. In 3rd place, the 9th generation, which is our current, the PS5 X series, and in 8th place, the PS4 and Xbox One, and in 1st place, which is my favourite, so I guess that's why we have the people that watch our stuff, it sort of aligns with our, is the PS3, yeah, the PS3 and Xbox 360 with a whopping 34%. So the rest was 34%, 27%, 20%, 17%. Don't do the maths with 137 people because sometimes YouTube a little bit skew-iffy on these.
Just the numbers.
It does. But I'm wholeheartedly on board with that. Well, that is all that we have here on time. What? What was that sentence? That's all the time we have.
All the right words, not necessarily in the right order.
Yeah, we've been talking a long time. On Locking It Down with Lucy. PALFox, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to our part 2. Everybody, go throw some XP points over to John. Tell the people where you're at.
Yes, absolutely, folks. If you wanna see some more of me and listen to more of my shits, I'm currently playing through Mass Effect 2 over on Twitch at twitch.tv/PALFox. I do streams on a Tuesday and a Thursday night from 8:30, that's UK time, and from 7:30 on a Sunday as well. You can also find me on Twitter over at PALFox Plays.
Nice. I highly recommend you guys do that. Well, I will bid you all a farewell. Thank you so much to Foxy Cat, who jumped in, and for Luke for the mod work. Thank you everyone for being in the chat and participating and bearing with the tech stuff. Great apologies on my end. I will speak to the tech advisor, which is myself, and have a word. Until next week, take care of yourselves, and I hope the weekend finds you well. This is where we wave awkwardly for a while, but I'm sure it's like
Smile and wave, boys.
Smile.